What's up, DC Nation? Welcome back to another video. And guys, like the video, give a big thumbs up on your YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe because I release great DC content every day that you don't want to miss. Now guys, I'm going to be explaining and reviewing the entire series of Dark Knight's Metal. But that also includes like the 2 prequel comics, Dark Days the Forge and Dark Days the Casting. Also the 3 interlude issues, Batman Lost, Hawkman Found, and Dark Knight's Rising, The Wild Hunt. Now, I'm not going to be explaining and reviewing the evil Batman issues like Batman Who Laughs and Red Death, mainly because I can save those for other videos and they're not as super important to the story because they're more just to add context to those characters, not more so for the story itself. So I'm going to save those for other videos and keep this a little shorter. But to start out, I'm going to do Dark Days the Forge. But guys, enough with this intro. Let's get to Dark Days the Forge. So guys, Dark Days the Forge is written by Scott Snyder and James Tynion or Tynion4 and has different artists on the book to convey the story. It's a little longer, it's about 30 pages, and guys, cover right here. Look at that shiny cover. Guys, I haven't opened this comic in so long, which I know opening the comic and touching it, like, yeah, it devalues it, but I've already read it like this before, way back when the comic came out, so it was already devalued. But still, I like having, because I have 2 copies of this. It's way back, I had like a comic shop near me that if you came at like midnight, you could get the issue for like half off or something like that, and it was awesome. Like, I love that. But I would go there and I would get these, and since I'm getting for half off, I would get 2 of them. So I got one that could just keep in it, and then one I could actually touch and read it like this, and use it for future stuff like this. But guys, that's when DC Comics were way less in price. Like, it was like $3. This one was actually $5, but that was expensive back then for those comics. But that was actually pretty good. It's 30 pages for $5. Not bad compared to like a 30-page comic now that it's going up, guys. Like, the regular 20-page comic is like $4 now. These comics are like $5 or $6. And also, there's been some comics that they're saying that could range up to $10. And I'm like, that's just crazy. I'm not paying for a comic that's $10. But back then, it was cheaper, and I was able to get 2 copies, which I really love. And I'm using this one now to explain it to you guys. But look at the cover right here. It looks pretty dope. It looks awesome. And starting out, we pretty much, I'm gonna skip over the Hawkman stuff first. I'll get back to it soon. But we see this one Dr. Madison, and he's in like this one place that like it's in like the ocean, and it's at like a Wayne Enterprise site. Now it's about to blow up, and Batman comes through it to save him because it's by like a volcano, so it's about getting engulfed with lava. So Batman saves him with this awesome suit. They get out, and Aquaman and Batman team up. So that's pretty dope. That's cool. And then after that, we see Batman and Aquaman talk, and Aquaman's like, "Hey, Bruce, why did you not tell me? Like, what are you looking for? Are you hiding something from me? Why did you not tell me that there's like a Wayne Enterprise base in my pretty much ocean?" And Batman pretty much dodges the question and doesn't reveal anything. Now, this is pretty much with Batman's MO. Back then, like Tower of Babel, which is a big storyline. It's an awesome comic, and it shows that Batman, he always plans to beat all the Justice League members, always plans for everything, and keeps a lot of secrets. And this storyline actually like kind of evolves on this whole thing that Batman keeps secrets, he plans for things, and puts people in trouble at times. So after that, we see Green Lantern. He's talking to the Guardians of the Universe, and what happens here, to give you guys some context, pretty much in his own comic at the time, Hal Jordan, the Green Lantern Corps, which is pretty cool. It's a cool comic. You saw, like, before that in the Dark Side War, you saw Oa get blown up. So they had Mogo, which is pretty much a planet, just a Green Lantern planet. That's all it is. And they now, they have residence there. That's where all the Green Lanterns are. And Green Lantern Hal Jordan, this Green Lantern Hal Jordan, not John Stewart, Hal Rayner, he heads over there, and the Guardians of the Universe gives him a mission to go investigate at Wayne Manor. So even then, they are kind of like suspicious of Batman. Like, something's there. Batman's hiding something big, and it gets it very like into that mystery, like what is he hiding, what big stuff is he hiding, and are we going to receive some big revelations in this issue? Now, as the issue goes on, we see he goes into the Wayne Manor and gets attacked by Duke. Now guys, Duke, I'm not a big fan of this character, like honestly. Like, he was okay, he eventually comes to Signal, not in this whole storyline, but afterwards, he had like a 3-part issue. It was like 3 issues. It was just called The Signal. He fights off villains in the daytime, not the nighttime like Batman. And at first you would think, okay, that's pretty interesting, right? But it didn't really go to anything. After The Signal, like, we haven't seen Duke in a while, guys. We haven't. Like, the last time I saw Duke was really just in like the Tom King story where like Booster Gold messed with the past and he went to the future, and we see Duke pretty much not retarded, but he's not doing good, and that's it. It's kind of like a joke. He's kind of like a joke character now that Tom King kind of made fun of. Like, he kind of ruined Duke's character, which kind of sucks in that run, and we haven't seen him in the Batman run or any comics recently. So this is kind of the best you'll see of Duke in this storyline. But we see him attack Green Lantern, and guys, before this, using Scott Snyder's Batman run, Scott Snyder introduced him, and he was we thought he would become like the new Robin, right? He was in the We Are Robin storyline, which is kind of a big storyline. Wasn't the greatest one, but it was okay at best. And Batman kept saying, hey, I'm trying something different. And he was kind of mentoring him, and Duke was coming better, and then he came to Signal. It was actually kind of like he was coming more interesting, and he just dropped out. We haven't seen anything recently, so that kind of sucks. But he attacks Hal Jordan and tells him, hey, Batman told me to guard this place. Now Jordan's like, hey, I think your mentor is not telling you something. Like, there's some secrets, the Guardians of the Universe sent me here, and then Hal Jordan goes off into this cave. And it's pretty much like a mysterious cave, well, it's in the Batcave, but a mysterious cave in the Batcave, and Duke runs after him. Now guys, we then see in pretty much, it's called the campus, 1 mile beneath Philadelphia, I think I pronounced that right, but still, Philly. So we see 1 mile beneath there, we see the Immoral Man, and he's talking about the immoral men. And guys, that was a comic that came afterwards, which it was cool for a little bit, but it just ended up being forgotten. And it could be a cool premise, but it ended up just sucking, so that kind of is bad. And if you think about it, it's a waste of a page here. But still, at the time, it was awesome. It got me hyped for that series, and I read it, and it just got cut short. Like, I wish they did more. Like, the whole new Age of Heroes line that came out, Dark Knight's Metal, was wasted. Like, honestly, it was. The only thing that kind of stuck around was the Silencer, which I'm happy for that. But only one character out of all these characters to stick around is kind of underwhelming. But that's what this is, and then we get back to Hawkman. This is what I'm going to explain, guys, all about Hawkman. Now, what we see is Carter Hall, which is Hawkman, explain his journal about Nth Metal. Now, guys, this is pretty much like the 9th, not like 8th, like the 9th metal, and pretty much with Hawkman over his years, he pretty much is reincarnated all the time, like gets killed, reincarnated, all the time. He's killed by different people. Same with Hawkgirl. But before like Crisis on Infinite Earths, his whole origin was a mess. Like, he was a mess of a character, and they pretty much made easier to read and easier to understand with the reincarnated thing. So he's reincarnated and he keeps discovering this, and he's stabbed by Nth Metal. Like, that was the first thing that he was killed by. So he's trying to like find this out. So he writes a journal in this comic going after it, and then he went missing. So guys, Carl goes missing, and we don't know where he is. Now guys, we see Batman arrive in the Batcave, and he's going to look at something, right? And then he sees pretty much Mr. Terrific, which that's pretty cool. Michael Holt, he hasn't been in comics a lot at this time. Like, yeah, he's afterwards with like the Terrifics, which I actually really like that comic. I think it's kind of underrated. But he's in this. Mr. Terrific and Batman have been working together, and back then, like the New 52, Mr. Terrific was given like a series, and not so well at all. Like, I honestly wouldn't read that. Like, Mr. Terrific is an okay character, but I don't think he really deserves his own comic book series. And it pretty much told in like the sales, like nobody really bought it. So he was put in the Earth 2 comic where it told stories in Earth 2 with different heroes, but he travels between Earth 1 and Earth 2 doing stuff. So Batman and Mr. Terrific been having like a partnership, and Batman's like, don't reveal my secrets. And Mr. Terrific in this part says, hey, I don't have fair play on my jacket just to go against this, not for laughs. And then we see, on the next page, we pretty much see like Plastic Man. At the time, I know what it was. I was like, what is this ball? And then later on, we find out it's Plastic Man, the story. And some people already knew it right off the bat, but I didn't read it. I was like, it's a couple years ago. I was just thinking, oh, awesome, epic story, it's cool. What's that? But still, that was pretty cool. So they have him, and Plastic Man has actually become very crucial later in the story in Dark Knight's Metal. But they're working together, and then we see in the Batcave how Jory and Duke, they're going through this place, and they try to discover what's going on. Now, we don't see Alfred anywhere. We pretty much see these different artifacts in this Batcave. Some of them are like Dr. Fate's mask. We see like Atlantean stuff. We see certain stuff from like the past that you're like, why does Batman have this stuff? And then we see like this simulation come up of like Batman the Outsiders, like Batman, Metamorpho, Black Lightning, Katana, Halo, and Geoforce, the OGs. And that's pretty cool. Eventually Batman the Outsiders came back, and Duke was actually in that. So, actually, scratch that. Early in this video I said Duke hasn't been in comics lately, but he has been in that. But it's been kind of underrated. Nobody's been really reading that as much. It's an underrated comic, and I do like it. I may actually start reviewing it, but Duke's in it, Orphan's in it, we see Batman, Black Lightning, Katana. It's a good series, and this is kind of like the start of bringing back the Batman the Outsiders. But they see this, and then all of a sudden, they start walking through, and they're looking for stuff, and they find like this chamber door, and they go through it, right? Back to, we see more of Hawkman's like journal, him like telling, he's going after stuff, trying to figure out his life, how he's reincarnated, almost dropped that, how he's reincarnated, and he's discovering certain things and some stuff that's kind of frightening him, and he's having nightmares about it. Now, he finds out this whole place, and it's kind of like Egyptian stuff, and he finds a suit, certain stuff like kind of like makes the character himself, and he becomes Hawkman. So this is like his whole journal. And guys, at the end of like Dark Days of Casting, little spoiler alert, he does go missing, so that's a big part in the storyline. So it's really important that I tell you guys this. But then we see in the Arctic Circle at the Fortress of Solitude, Batman arrives to talk to Superman. Now guys, we see Batman and Superman talk, right? That's when Mr. Miracle comes in. Batman's like, hey, I need to access it now. And we ask the reader, you're like, what does he need to access? Like, what other secrets does he have up his sleeve? Now, we see Mr. Miracle pretty much access this big thing. They go to the Fortress of Solitude. It's like a huge thing. We're like, what is that? And then once we go to the next page, we find out that's the cosmic tuning fork from Crisis on Infinite Earths, Final Crisis. Like, it was introduced in Crisis on Infinite Earths. And pretty much, it was a thing on different worlds throughout the multiverse that like the Shadow Demons went through, and they pretty much go in and destroy that world. So it's a big thing. And guys, I actually did like a whole series where I explained Crisis on Infinite Earths, all 12 issues in like 13 videos. You check out the eye top right corner right here. But right here, seeing this, it was very nostalgic. It was cool. When I read this, I was like, wow, okay, this is getting interesting. Like, what else is Batman hiding? So after that, we go back to Hal Joy and Duke going through that, and we hear like another voice. And this voice is talking to them, right? And like, who is this? And they talk in a very like different way. Like, it's not a very smart way. It's kind of like talking about Batman laughing at him in a way. And we see him go through, and they open the chamber, and there he is. We see the Joker. And guys, this is a Joker from the New 52 who was pretty much gone after the Endgame arc with like Scott Snyder's Batman, which is really awesome and stuff. And that actually, if you read Scott Snyder's Batman, it actually prepares you more for the story. But I'm not going to explain that whole series. That's like 50 issues. But still, mostly with like Joker, he was going after the metal to be immortal and stuff. There's like a whole different story. It was really cool. But from here, seeing him back was a big deal. Just like, okay, Joker's involved now. And then we see him in the cover of Dark Days of Casting. So it was a big cliffhanger right here. And he's pretty much laughing. And he says, you're just another couple of pieces of Batman's puzzle, just like him. And that's how it ends, guys. That's how the issue ends. Big cliffhanger, and gets us into the next prequel comic, Dark Days of Casting. Now, guys, let me put this down. So, what I thought about this issue initially was it was pretty cool. The art was great. It's not as good as Greg Capullo's art, but still, like, pretty much like conveys that event style art. It was really good. And seeing like Mr. Terrific, Mr. Miracle, all these characters returning was dope. And then Batman having all these secrets and made it interesting with like a mystery. It was really cool. We saw Aquaman, Superman, all these different cameos, which was really cool. And then seeing the cosmic tuning fork, different like references to past DC lore, like a long time ago, like Crisis on Infinite Earths, making a reference to that makes the storyline seem very big, and it actually is. But guys, the big cliffhanger of Joker was like out of nowhere. Like, it shocked me at first. I was like, whoa, hold up. and it was really cool. And when I saw Duke and how Jordan go to the back heel, I was like, okay, the reveal better be good because it's kind of the most boring part of the issue. But once we got to the Joker, it made up all that time like worth it. It was like, okay, I read through all that exposition, but it was worth it. And guys, overall, this issue started out with a bang. It got me excited for the storyline. And when I heard about this issue, like way back, I remember it was like probably around this time, like 3 years ago, when this issue, like it was a couple weeks before this issue came out, and I was like, is this gonna be a good issue? It feels kind of just standalone. But then when I read it, I was like, okay, I'm excited for Dark Knight's Metal now. Like I'm gonna read that whole series. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna give this issue a 9 out of 10. Definitely recommend it, and I recommend this whole series. But I'm giving each issue a score so you guys can know my thoughts and how much I love it. Like it's really good. And guys, the cover is dope. Like look at that. That's a cool cover. It's very creative, and yeah. So with that out of the way, explain that first issue and pretty much give my review on, let's get to Dark Days, the casting, the next part in this big storyline, Dark Knight's Metal. Before like diving into this issue, there's a couple things to go over, kind of like recapping the last issue that come even more important in this issue. So pretty much, the last issue we saw Batman and Hawkman going on like a discovery journey. Both of them, Hawkman in the past and Batman in the present day. Now, Hawkman was pretty much trying to figure out his life, how he was killed by Nith Metal, which is like this big metal that everybody's searching for that we don't know that much about, and the story pretty much expands upon. So he died by it first, and that pretty much like started his whole like reincarnation journey where he dies, comes back, and same with Hawkgirl too. So he's going on a journey, meet up with different people trying to figure this out, and he's starting to think that maybe this Nith Metal is connected to some kind of darkness that is trying to get into the universe. Now, at the end of this issue, the one we'll be going over, he does go missing, but there's more context on that. Now, with Batman in the present day, he's meeting up with all these heroes. He's going around, he's wearing Mr. Terrific, he returns, Mr. Miracle, Superman, and he's going after all these artifacts that if he connects them together and pieces them together, then he could be able to see through this darkness and maybe figure out about this Nith Metal. Because we find out more why he wants to do this, but it's more like a mystery, and being a detective, he can't figure it out, so he's kind of like scared and a little worried for Earth and himself. So that's where we're picking up, guys. Like last issue, we saw certain artifacts, like Atlantean artifacts, also stuff from like Core of Owls with like Scott Snyder's Batman run, and the big one, we saw the Cosmic Tuning Fork. Guys, that was dope. Like the Cosmic Tuning Fork right here. Like having that appear again after so many years, because it was in Crisis on Infinite Earths and in Infinite Crisis, seeing it back in the storyline just made the storyline huge. And by the end of the issue, guys, we saw, actually throughout the issue, we saw Green Lantern and Duke. They went to the Wayne Tower, right? And Green Lantern was sent by the Guardians of the Universe because something Batman has in this area is going to like cause like a disruption in the universe, the multiverse actually, and this is a big deal. And they actually find Joker, and guys, Joker's laughing and he was telling them how Batman's hiding so many secrets. Now we're gonna find out more about this stuff because yeah, I know it can be a little confusing. It's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of cool stuff too, but it's expanded upon and more explained in the second part of this prequel series before Dark Knight's Metal. So guys, Dark Days casting is the second part in this prequel series. We had Dark Days Forge, and then now Dark Days casting. The whole thing is to pretty much get you like pretty much ready for Dark Knight's Metal. Certain stuff that are kind of not fit in the actual series, but this is really important. Like if you don't read these two issues, you'll be kind of lost when you jump into Dark Knight's Metal. Like technically, you can read it and just go with it, but it's better to read this and have it explained. But guys, first off, look at that dope cover. That's badass. Look at that. That's pretty cool. I like it. It's cool. You see Batman, you see Joker, Duke, you also see Green Lantern. It also shines too. Guys, like these covers are really cool. I like how they just shine off the page. They're not just like regular covers, right? But guys, jumping into the issue, we see more of Hawkman, Hawkgirl. Now, as Hawkman says, he's pretty much, it's the beginning of the 20th century, and he's kind of like an archaeologist, and he's trying to figure out about this Nith Metal. Now, he assembles a group of people to figure it out, and in this group, we have, pretty much he says, we had long heard rumors of the rhyming demon of Camelot. Now, if you don't know who that is, that's Etrigan the Demon. Now, guys, Etrigan, come on, that's pretty cool. We also see pretty much the brothers who keep secrets and mysteries. That's Cain and Abel from the Vertigo comics. And actually, both of them have showed up in the Sandman universe. So, back then I had noticed it. This kind of foreshadows what happens at the end of issue number 1, Dark Knight's Metal, if you guys know what I mean. But when we get there, we'll get there. But for now, this is important information, alright? Because these are crucial characters that help kind of push Hawkman in his journey to discover this nth metal. Now, we also have a man as old as America. Now, that's Uncle Sam. You know who that is from the Freedom Fighters. He hadn't showed up in the DC Universe at this point since Infinite Crisis, so that's big. But we also see the grove of ancient humanoid plants, keepers of mysteries and secrets of sorcerers. We also have Shining Knights, Caveman, and Phantom Strangers of all stripes. Now, the Phantom Stranger, different characters who deal with the supernatural, deal with this darkness that we're referring to throughout the series. So, also, who comes in, we have all these people that are on the hood, so you don't really see them as much, but we see this guy walk in, and he's actually the guy who granted Shazam his powers, the wizard, so that's cool. The wizard, come on. Now, he pretty much shows, the dagger of Shazam, and all these people in hoods are shocked. These characters, Ra's al Ghul's there, and he's like, man, what's going on? This must be really big. He expects that. And then also, Etrigan, which it's more Etrigan's not out right now, it's more his human counterpart is out, and everybody's surprised by this, and when this wizard is about to reveal the secrets of this nth metal, and pretty much push along this journey, Hawkman's all surprised, and as I'm reading this, I'm like, man, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Are they gonna reveal it? And then we turn the page, and no, not yet, guys. It was pretty much like a quick tease. But guys, what we see next is Methania, Greece, and Batman's fighting off this creature. And we don't know why he's fighting off this creature. Yeah, he's going on his journey to discover things, but it's did he not call on Wonder Woman? And that's when Wonder Woman shows up, and she's like, enough, Amphitryon, however you pronounce this creature's name, but still, she shows up, and she's like, Batman, you should have told me you're coming, because this is actually a dangerous part of the world, no human can just walk it, and Batman's like, well, I've been walking for a while, and I have a deadline, I need to get this stuff, and he walks with Wonder Woman, they walk into this place, right, and Batman says, I need to speak to Hephaestus. And one was like, oh, well, that's not good because all the gods have left Earth. Guys, left the world. They left. And Batman's like, why would they leave? I need his help to pretty much tell me and clear up this whole thing about the darkness. I don't know what I'm searching for. And Wonder Woman's like, well, they said there was a war coming and darkness coming. So it's pretty much this darkness in the back of this story that's coming soon. And we'll see what happens with that by the end of this issue. But it is very important, guys. So they talk, and then she says, well, I can at least give you something. So Hephaestus, he gave me the sword, it's a sunblade, and it's actually from Apollo, and it's made of 8th metal. And Batman's like, okay, I can kind of use this, and one of them's like, just don't give it to the darkness. Don't give this sunblade to the darkness, it could cause problems. And Batman's like, well, I have plans, and I have to make these plans succeed in order to beat this darkness and figure it out. Now, we shift back to the Batcave with the Joker. Now, guys, Joker's talking to Hal Jordan and Duke, and the Joker's like, hey, you guys still can't figure it out, right? It's like, I figured it out, but you guys are too dumb and think I'm evil to get help from me. Hal Jordan asked too, he's like, Hal, Duke, did you know that your mentor Batman's been hiding Joker? And Duke's like, come on, I didn't know this, so I'm going to be talking to Batman when he gets home. Duke's a little angry about this. He says, why would he hide Joker from Duke? Joker's the same villain who pretty much poisoned Duke's parents, caused them to pretty much go in laughter and almost had them killed by Joe Chill. And they actually eventually went crazy. So Duke's kind of has some trauma with Joker. He's kind of angry seeing him alive. When you see Joker speak, he actually kind of repeats that. He's like, or are you mad because the last time I saw you, I poisoned your parents? Yeah, poisoned his parents. That's messed up. And they went to the Brick of Sanities, and you pretty much watched with your impressionable eyes as they pretty much became insane. He pretty much caused his parents to go into insanity and mess with Duke's life. So Duke's mad about this. Duke then goes to attack him, but there's that energy field right there. Duke should have knew better. Batman would not just put Joker there for no reason. Like, he would not just put him there and not have something blocking it other than just like a chamber door. So he has an energy field there, and Duke is pretty much hit by it, and Joker's like, that's how it all started. So he explains how back in like Death of the Family, Endgame, back in that big story when we thought Joker died in Scott Snyder's Batman, pretty much there's this thing called Dionysium, and this thing causes people to become more immortal. Now, the more pure this substance is, the more immortal you become. So with Vandal Savage, he found the most pure form of this Dionysium. That caused Vandal Savage to be full immortal, like he doesn't die. Where Joker, back in Endgame, found like a very old version of this Dionysium, so he can be immortal for a little bit, but eventually wears off. But what happens is when he died, he fell into this thing at the end of Endgame. Because at the end of Endgame, Batman, he disappeared and they came back in super heavy, but we don't know what happened to the Joker, like he was gone. So in this, we see Joker, and he's down in this cave, and he sees a symbol of the bat. And guys, this symbol pretty much resembles Barbados, who's the big villain of the story, and we'll get to him soon. But right here, he said like he was in like this liquid, the Dionysium, and it pretty much healed him from all his injuries. He was about to die, and the Dionysium saved him. So that's a big deal. And he says to Duke, he's like, Duke, you're very important. You've been seeing stuff, right? You've been seeing the future, how all this is going to play out, just like I have. And Duke's like, how do you know what I've been seeing? And that's when Joker breaks through, and he's like, you're not listening to me, aren't you? He's like, I'm not the villain here. And then he starts, he's like, I'm gonna stop this. I'm gonna end this. And the lights shut off, and it's pitch black, guys. Pitch black right there. And Duke's like, Green Lantern, light up your ring. I can't see. Joker's right behind him. And Joker's getting away, and that's when Green Lantern tries to light up his ring, but can't really. Then we shift back to Hawkman and Hawkgirl. Now, they're both like searching out different things, trying to figure out this Nth metal in the past, and after they're meeting with the wizards, Etrigan, and all these like old characters we haven't seen in a while, he pretty much uses his Shazam dagger and helps chart his way through this darkness to figure it out. Now, he goes through different caves, he sees like different symbols that resemble like a bat, and he's kind of confused by this. Now, he's like, we have to get rid of this darkness, but at the same time, this Nth metal has helped like pretty much advance our civilization and helped like further our plans, helped out pretty much the world. But at the same time, it's causing things to unravel and release this darkness, so it's better to just get rid of it. But guys, they pretty much talk about that they can't be beaten by the unknown, they don't know what this is, but they have to beat it, they can't give up. And we see a picture of the challengers of the unknown, and they pretty much hired these challengers of the unknown, which are old characters, guys. They just go after different adventures, go after different things, and they hire them to search this out. Now, as Hawkgirl and Hawkman, as they put this Shazam dagger into this thing to figure out this darkness, they hold hands. And they're like, we wanted to see it. We are very eager, but we are also very afraid. And as we go to the next page, we see like pretty much the world is shaking and everything's going pretty much to shit. Like things not going so well. And we see pretty much this big, it's kind of like a dragon eye, like 3 eyes, and it's looking at Hawkgirl and Hawkman, and it's like it says right here, it's like, and I saw the eyes of something great and terrible, staring back at me through the abyss. So it was scared by it, and they're like, but it made them even more intrigued. They're like, man, we haven't still figured it out. So the darkness is waiting for somebody to unlock it. So pretty much this darkness can't get through to our world unless somebody unlocks it. And as we find out later in the story, Batman's the one to do that. But guys, we go back to Batman in the Sonoran Desert in Arizona. Now he goes through and he's trying to find out stuff. He's trying to make a deal with somebody. We don't know who it is yet. And then we see Duplex. And this guy is pretty much a Cadmus. He was in Jack Kirby's comics way back in like the 70s. But he tells Batman, stop, stay away from this. This is evil stuff. Stop going. You're gonna release something that's very bad. And he shows him a vision. He uses his powers to show Batman a vision of pretty much like the darkness that's coming and this evil bat, like this evil these evil Batman and this big like evil bat dragon in a way. Not bat dragon, but who Barbados is. And then Duplex pretty much collapses. He's done. And then Talia comes through the shadows. Now, Talia comes through and she tells Batman, I know what you're searching for. You're searching for this Nth metal. You're searching to find out about this darkness. and Batman's like, did Ra's al Ghul know about this? And Talia's like, yes, he's been searching for a while. Way back, he met with a group of people, and this actually kind of refers to the beginning of this book in how pretty much Ra's al Ghul joined this group of people, Etrigan, the Wizard of Shazam, and with Hawkman, Hawkgirl, to figure out this darkness. And Talia's like, I had one thing that I kept with me, Ra's al Ghul kept it and passed it down to me. Batman trades his Sunblade, this 8th metal that Wonder Woman gave him, for the Dagger of Shazam. And you think, you're like, okay, is that a bad trade? No, it isn't. Because just like how the Dagger of Shazam helped Hawkman and Hawkgirl see the darkness, this will also help Batman do it. But this may be bad in the long run. Now, they trade. And after that, we go back to Joker, Duke, and Hal Jordan. Now, Hal Jordan and Duke are pretty much right after Joker, and Joker's like beating up this machine that Batman had, and this machine was pretty much like a last-minute thing. If Batman died, it could bring Batman back, so Gotham could always have a protector. But Batman was also going to use this to connect the artifacts he's been getting, and pretty much uses Dagger of Shazam, connect it all together, and finally see the darkness. So Joker's like, I gotta destroy this before Batman gets here and stop him from seeing this darkness. Now, Hal's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And Joker's like, don't you understand? This is what your alien boss has sent you to pretty much stop, well, the Guardians of the Universe. And Hal Jordan's still not figuring it out. He thinks Joker's still the villain. Now, Joker then jumps at Duke to attack him, and Duke's like, stop, and he's on top of Joker. He's like, stop talking, you're doing stuff bad, and what you did to my parents was wrong. And Joker's like, you still don't get it. There's bad things coming. Joker's like, let me explain this to you, Duke. You've been seeing stuff, right? And at the Gotham Mercy Hospital, they pretty much saw a certain substance in you. Now, pay attention, guys. They saw a substance in Duke, and it's like, that wasn't iron, it wasn't mercury, like the simple substances, it was nth metal. Now, a way to pretty much track this nth metal back then was these doctors would put flags up. And these certain flags, if you had all of them in you, that would mean you're a metahuman. So it's pretty much explained like a reinvigorated explanation of metahumans in the DC universe. Now, what it says is that these flags, they'd be for them, and it'd be M-E-T-A. And that spells meta. With this nth metal, if you had it, it'd pretty much give you the potential chance to become a metahuman and get powers. So, pretty much, for example, like Flash, when Barry got struck by lightning, instead of just dying, this nth metal protected him and kept him safe before he woke up and became the fastest man alive. So with this nth metal, if a villain pretty much figured it out and had control of it, they can actually grant powers to different people throughout the world and pretty much create their own army, which that'd be bad for the villain, but if the heroes figure it out first, they can stop this. So it's kind of like all these different people in the story are trying to figure out nth metal, and it's leading to something bad. But Joker tells Duke pretty much he has the power to connect all these artifacts that Batman has, and if he does that, Batman can see the darkness, and Joker's like, you are the signal. And that comes Duke's name. Later on, he gets a series, and Joker tells Duke that, so since you're the signal and you're the thing that can connect it all, I need to kill you. And Duke pushes him off, and Duke falls down into this cave, and Joker's like, okay, there you go. He's done. I can pretty much carry out my plan. He's like, I can save these people, not save people, but I can stop this from happening. And that's when Hal Jordan pops up. He's like, Joker, I was a decorated member of the United States Air Force. I know how to operate all Batman's weapons in this Batcave. So why don't you just dump me into his weapons? So then Hal Jordan, he's in like this bat plane type thing with Duke on top, and they go toward Joker. And Joker's like shocked. He's like, oh shit, this ain't going well. Back to Hawkman, and after he saw pretty much that darkness, he kept searching for it, meet up with different people, and finally he figured out a way to, like a portal, to get to the darkness, and when he went through, he disappeared. Like, that was the end of his story. No one's heard of him ever since, and guys, this is bad. Like, he was the only one. Hawkgirl hasn't heard of him ever since. No hero has heard of him, and that's a big part of the story because people are searching for him, and by the end of the story we find out what happened to him, and it's actually a big reveal that I'll save for later. But next what we see is the Joker he's pretty much now captive by Hal Joy and Duke, and they're talking to him. Joker's like, wow, you guys don't get it. I'm the hero in this story. I'm the good guy. Batman, he's pretty much in a way the villain. He's gonna unlock this darkness, and you guys are so pretty much kept up on beating me up and pretty much imprisoning me because pretty much my record and I'm the Joker that you don't see the darkness that's in front of you. Now, Hal Jordan's like, no, that can't be true. Duke's like, no, it can't be true. And Joker's like, you guys are so blind, that's laughable. And he starts laughing. We next see Batman come in, and he's like, what the hell did you do to my cave, to Hal Jordan? And Hal Jordan's like, I did nothing. It was the Joker. And Hal Jordan's like, what have you been hiding from us, Batman? And he tells Duke's like, yeah, what have you been hiding from me? I've been protecting this cave, and I didn't know you had Joker pretty much in prison and captive. That's a big deal. Hal Jordan's like, Joker's one of the biggest villains, and you just have him hiding in here, not knowing, not telling the Justice League, not telling anyone. Pretty much Hal Jordan's telling Batman, you're bad at keeping secrets, and it's pretty much gonna cause, the end of everything if you keep doing this. And Batman tells him, I need the Joker to carry out my plans, and Batman says, when I pretty much in a way died back in Endgame, he didn't die, but he disappeared for a while, and that's when Commissioner Gordon became Batman. That was way back in the Super Heavy arc, and it's an okay arc. It's my least favorite of the whole Scott Snyder's Batman run, but it's still really good. But when he died and he used a machine to come back, this machine that's gonna connect everything, he saw visions of different Batman dying in this darkness, and that pretty much started his quest going after this dark multiverse. Or in this comic, it just says the darkness. But right here, Hal's like, okay, then what's Duke's purpose? What is he supposed to do? And Duke then has all these artifacts. He's like, oh, Joker's right. I need to connect all this. And Joker's like, nah, don't do that. That's what I'm trying to prevent. And then Duke, Hal Jordan gives his ring to him, and then Duke's like, man, I see it all. Like a pirate's mask, I see stuff from the Owl Spectrum, pretty much stuff from the Core of Owls. I see Atlantean stuff, and he's like, finally this dagger of Shazam will connect it all. And that's when Hal Jordan gives his ring, and Duke constructs this thing, in a way like a machine and a chair that Batman can sit through and finally see the darkness. Now, Batman goes in, he sits it, and starts looking through it. He thinks he'll finally figure out the mystery, but all he sees is darkness. That's it. He sees nothing else. He's like, I did everything right. And Duke's like, Hal Jordan, and Hal Jordan like, what you see? And Batman's like, I just saw darkness. I saw nothing else. And that's when we shift to 3,000 miles below Gotham City, and we saw these hooded figures. Now, it looks pretty much like the evil Batman that are going to be coming in Dark Knight's Marvel series, and we see the father of Batman. He's talking. He's like, finally, the dark days are over. The Batman has saw us, and he's pretty much opened a gateway for them to come through. So this is really bad. And the final lines of this comic says, the Dark Knights are coming, and with them, the true father of Batman. And then it says, the invasion begins with Metal number 1, and that'll lead into the big series. But guys, that caps off this issue. Pretty big deal. Pretty much, Hawkman went missing. He met with all these different heroes and villains to figure this out. It's a big thing. Talia, Batman trade stuff. Batman got that dagger of Shazam and pretty much used it to connect all the artifacts he's been getting and finally see darkness, but he thought it was nothing. He's like, oh, I just saw darkness. This was not worth it. And when actually he pretty much made a gateway for these evil Batman and Barbados to get through. So guys, I hope I explained that well. It's a lot of stuff in this issue, and now that we have Dark Days the Forge and Dark Days the Casting, we can dive into Dark Knight's Metal. But before we get into that, let me give my review on this issue. So guys, overall, I thought this issue was really good. The art was dope. The art looked really good. And guys, Joker was awesome. Whoever thought Joker would be the good guy? Come on, Joker being a good guy, that's cool. And not cool in oh, just made him actual good guy, but the stakes are so high that it makes him a good guy. He knows what's right. He's like, I don't want everything to end. I still want to have my pretty much that rivalry between him and Batman, keep it going. And we find out what happened to Joker after Endgame, which was really interesting. And then Duke was actually pretty good in this issue. I liked him. Green Lantern was good. And then just seeing all this stuff at the time, like I know what happens after this because these issues been out for a while, but when I bought this comic, I was very intrigued. I was like, man, what's that? Like the whole Barbados, the evil Batman at the end of the issue, like the Dark Knights are coming. I was hyped. I was like, I need to get issue number 1 right now, but I had to wait a couple weeks. So the wait was hard. Like the wait was really hard. But also seeing Wonder Woman show up again and seeing Talia al Ghul, all these different appearances, it was really cool. And also like the opening of this issue, seeing like the Etrigan, like not actually Etrigan, all these people in hoods, but just Etrigan, Cain, Abel, Raj al Ghul, the Wizard of Shazam, all coming together to help Hawkman on his journey. It's just really unique and really cool. But yeah, guys, this is an awesome issue. It was pretty much as good as the last one. Like, I'm overall gonna give it a 9 out of 10. Definitely recommend it. Like, this prequel series, Dark Days of the Forge and Dark Days of the Casting, is the perfect one to set you up for the big series. With Dark Days, the Forge and Dark Days of the Casting over with, I already explained them and reviewed them. You know my thoughts on it. Let's dive into the issue number 1 of the big saga that is Dark Knight's Metal. And guys, I'm excited, so let's dive in. Now guys, Dark Knight's Metal number 1 has about a total of like 5 different covers. Well actually, 5 different covers. We got this one, which is a cool cover. This is the only cover you got if you went at midnight and got the comic the first day it came out, which I did. This is the only series that I went midnight and got this, alright? And then there's also this cover with Batman like a dinosaur, which is really cool. Then we got Superman versus Mongol, that's pretty dope. And then we also got like Wonder Woman fighting off like a machine, that's cool. And then the OG cover. This is like the cover you would get if you bought it now. But yeah guys, those are all the 5 covers, but I'm going to be using, not this one because this one was hard to find. I'm not going to open this because this is valuable, but I'm actually going to use this one when I read it, alright? So guys, let's dive in. So guys, after looking at this really cool cover and how shiny it is, you see Superman, Wonder Woman, and Cyborg, Flash, and Green Lantern, and Batman on the cover, and they are in this issue. But we open up, and we pretty much see like a short story like 50,000 years ago about 3 tribes. The Bat, the Bird, and the Owl. So these are pretty much all 3 tribes that kind of like Scott Snyder introduced in his Batman run, and throughout this whole like all his stories. But here we see a new one jumps in, a new like tribe jumps in, and this is not good. And it shows like a blood stain on it, and that's pretty much like bad stuff's coming. So that's the introduction, and then we see pretty much Superman, Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Aquaman, Batman, Cyborg, and the Flash all on like War World, which is pretty much where Mongol is, and he has this whole place like a coliseum, and they're about to fight out this big machine. Now, he has pretty much stuff to limit these heroes, like Flash, he can't run that fast. Superman, it's under Red Sun, so he's not as strong. So it's more just like fight off, like a brawl, instead of like heroes with their powers fighting off. So it's a lot of entertainment for Mongol, but bad for the Justice League. Now, also there is the Toy Man, and he's working with Mongol too. But now we have the heroes, they fight off this machine, and Mongol didn't see this, but Batman, being super smart, he doesn't have powers, and he figures out how to get control of this machine. And he has all the heroes, like all of them, pretty much take a spot in this machine. And he gets it, he's like, come on, let's do this. And they get control of the thing, it kind of hurts them because it's like the machine's taking over them, but now they have control of the full machine, and it kind of comes like a Power Rangers type thing, like a huge mecha robot, and they start like pretty much destroying the Coliseum and try and get out of there. So it's pretty quick. Mongol doesn't really stand as a big threat in this introduction. It's kind of like, alright, before getting into this big dark story, let's have a fun Justice League adventure. But they take down Mongol, they get away, and we don't really see Mongol get taken off, like on the screen. It's more off screen. So the last line is Batman's like, alright, Silverberry, so you can kick his, and we know that's like kick his ass, like just beat Mongol. And that's when we see this big thing right here, which pretty much shows all the people on the series, Dark Knight's Metal. We have Scott Snyder, we have Greg Capullo, we also have FCO Placenta, who's a great color artist. So it's a lot of big names on this. It shows we're getting a good creative team and some high level writing. Like, this is going to be a great series. So then we see Aquaman, Wonder Woman, Superman, and the Justice League. They all get back to Earth, right? And they see like this Challenger's Mountain just erupted in Gotham City. Everybody's like freaking out. They're like, what the heck is this? So they're freaking out, and they pretty much like left Gotham City. So Gotham City's kind of used to this though. Like, why are they freaking out? They have like No Man's Land. They have City of Bane after this storyline, which isn't really that good. But they've had a lot of like chaos in that city, so they're kind of used to it. But still, they panicked and left after this Challenger's Mountain just erupted out of nowhere. Now Batman's like, how did I not know about this? He's telling Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman's like, hey, we were pretty much tapped into the Watchtower's system. We could knew about this, but we still didn't detect it. It just came out of nowhere. And then Batman and Superman have Flash pretty much run around the mountain to find like an entrance inside. And Flash does. Now guys, they go inside, they start walking through, it's kind of mysterious. They find like this chamber thing that's kind of similar to what they saw like when Batman saw through the Dark Multiverse in the Dark Days of Casting. Now they look at it, they're looking around, and then they see this thing on the wall, it says, it's chasing us, run. So they think it's something bad, and that's when the Blackhawks walk in, and they're actually not bad. They're like, oh, this is Conjure Saunders, who is Hawkgirl, but she's disappeared. She's been gone for so long, no one really knew she exists for a while. So this is her first appearance in like a big long time. But she's with the Blackhawks, and she's like, okay, come back with me to my island, and we can talk about what's going on in this chaos. Now, they pretty much go to the South Pacific Island, and they're inside this place, and they're talking about Hawkman, how he was like a hero, and Hawkgirl and Hawkman's relationship, how they teamed up, looked for the Nth Medal, and how pretty much Hawkman had all these people join his cause, like Starman. They had Red Tornado, the Challenges of the Unknown, a lot of old characters. And guys, Starman, he actually shows up again in the Justice League series by Scott Snyder, a great series. But Starman, I think he's underrated and he should be in more stories because he is a great character and he can be used to great use if writers actually considered him other than like these big heroes. But still, they pretty much talk about how they kept searching for it. He enlisted a bunch of people like Vandal Savage, but Hawkman was pretty much the first one to go after this Nth Medal, and he just kept recruiting people as time went on until he went missing. Now, Conjura or Hawkgirl pretty much puts out the multiverse map from Infinite Crisis, which is a big deal. It's like, okay, so this is a multiversal threat, and they're looking at it, and she's talking about, okay, here's the multiverse, and then she just shows black. She's like, then there's the Dark Multiverse. So there's a whole separate multiverse than the one we are in. So, Dark Multiverse, that's where Hawkman went, and it's obviously bad. Like, that's not a good name. Like, it's a good name, but it's not something to be scared of. Like, if you're in these heroes' shoes, you're like, there's a Dark Multiverse? What the heck is that? But she tries to explain it, and all these heroes are trying to, like, just brainstorm, like, what is this? What can we do? But they don't really know. And that's when Red Tornado pretty much wakes up. Like, he's been asleep for all this time, like, kind of shut down, but he wakes up and he says, you open the door. And he just starts shouting, and he starts, like, attacking the Justice League, attacking the Blackhawks. And you're like, oh, what does he mean by you open the door? Well, when Batman and Duke and Hal Jordan, when they're in that Batcave, and they put all the artifacts together in Dark Days of Casting, and Batman looked through to see the darkness, and he thought he saw nothing. What he actually did was release the evil Batman, Barbados. So Red Tornado's like, it's all your guys' fault. Like, it's your fault that this is happening. So pretty much he's attacking, all the Justice League are fighting him off, and in that time, Batman gets away on like a dinosaur. And guys, it's kind of like what that variant cover was. Now, it's not the exact dinosaur, like that just looked like a regular dinosaur in the variant cover, but here, it's a different kind of dinosaur, and he's like, let's run fast. So he gets off the island somewhere else. Now, we see a quick page of like Dr. Fate, and he's like, what are these dark things? And you see all these different figures in like shadows, and it's pretty much like the evil Batman. You got the Doomsday type one, the Batman who laughs, different things, but not their official looks. So back then I was like hyped, I'm like, I want to see their official looks, which we eventually see in issue number 2, but not this one. But all these big magical characters like the Phantom Stranger, Dr. Fate, even they are scared. So this is some high stakes. But then we see at the Batcave, Batman's pretty much analyzing. Alfred's like, hey, where's the Justice League? Weren't you with them with the Blackhawks? Batman's like, no. The only reason Batman went to that island was not to like, oh, be the Justice League and maybe like check out the Dark Multiverse. No, he wanted to see what the Blackhawks knew and pretty much see if they could like further his journey. But they didn't really, so that's why he just left. That he didn't want to just fight off Red Tornado and get nothing out of it. But still, he's there. He's looking into pretty much his evidence that he got and trying to figure out what's going on. Alfred tells Batman, hey, be careful, and then they hear like a humming sound from upstairs. And Alfred's like, listen, humming. It's like and he's like, yeah, tuning fork. Yes, that's what Batman says. He's like, upstairs. So Batman then goes upstairs and he goes in like the library, and it's pretty much you get the clock ticking. It's kind of like suspicious. Now he's looking around. He sees like a bat symbol on the ground. He's like, here in the study all this time. He's like, he's starting to figure out stuff. And then he finally figures out the Journal of Carter Hall was in his library. Like, that's big. It's like, it's been there all that time, you haven't noticed? And he's like, my God, so it's all true. He starts to notice that all this stuff he's been going after is actually true, and he may have saw something when he looked through the darkness. So he starts going through, and we hear more of Carter Hall's journal and how pretty much nightmares come from this dark multiverse. And guys, before we get to this ending, that's pretty crazy, let me explain the dark multiverse a little bit. It's pretty much you have all these evil versions of these heroes, and it's all these different Earths. Now you have evil Supermans, evil Batmans, evil Wonder Womans, but the big thing is when we dream at night, you have like good dreams and then you have nightmares. So our DC universe are just the regular dreams. Where this dark multiverse is like total nightmares, like stuff that you would never want to happen, like stuff Batman would have nightmares about, stuff Superman would have nightmares about. So it's a pretty bad place to be in, and if it comes to the DC universe and engulfs it, that'd be bad. So that's the big thing that these heroes are trying to prevent. Now, Batman is reading this book, and then he says, my God, so it's all true, and some other voice says, yes, Batman, and it's revealed to be the dreamer of the endless, Sandman. And he says, yes, it is. I am Dreamer of the Endless, and I have come to tell you that this nightmare has only just begun. And Batman's shocked. He's like, how the heck you been here? And it says, next, nightmares revealed. So this is a lot of questions in this book. There's no answers. It's more like, hey, here's a dark multiverse. The Justice League, you see Challengers Mountain, Hawkgirl, and the Blackhawks get involved. And Batman's going this journey, but he's starting to get deeper and deeper, and that's bad. And now it's time that the Dreamer of the Endless kind of gets in and pretty much tells Batman and tries to help him out. Batman's eventually going to get into like a dangerous conflict that he can't prevent. But seeing that Sandman, when I first read this issue, it was a pretty good issue. I was like, okay, this is good, this is good. And then when we got to Sandman, I was like, holy crap. Like, we haven't seen this guy, Dreamer of the Endless, in so long. Because I read the original, like, first 3 volumes of Neil Gaiman's Sandman comic, and you see him pretty much fight off, like, Dr. Destiny in the first one. Like, I still remember that issue where Dr. Destiny, it's all about him. He kills a bunch of people and manipulates them. It's a dark comic. But Dreamer of the Endless, he goes after a lot of supernatural beings, and it's an awesome comic. Like, the Sandman universe is very fascinating, and they actually brought it back after this Dark Knight's Metal saga, which is not, the new ones aren't as good as the original, but still interesting to read. But seeing him come into this, like, pretty much showed you, yeah, this is a big event. Like, if you thought, oh, Cosmic Tuning Fork, that's big. If you thought this other stuff is big, well, wait till you see Dreamer of the Endless come into the story. Like, that's just a big way to end the first issue in this series, and I really liked it. Like, that's cool. But yeah, guys, enough of this explained. Let's get to my review on this issue. So guys, first off, the cover in this issue is badass. Looks really good. It kind of has like a rock on type pose. Rock on. That's pretty much what it is. If you look at the cover right here, you see how like the heroes are positioned that way, which is really cool. Scott Snyder likes rock and roll, so it shows his personality a little bit. But the other covers are cool too, and the art in this issue is great. Like, it really helps it out. Like, Greg Capullo is one of my favorite artists. He really helps Scott Snyder, because Scott Snyder has great writing, but other artists would not be able to convey it in the way that Greg Capullo does. And Greg Capullo just kills it. He does so well. But with this issue, I had some problems. Like, the middle was a little slow. We had like the Blackhawks explaining about the dark multiverse, and certain stuff got a little boring, but it was still like kind of the exposition to get out of the way and get you to ask questions in that first issue. So that's like the only part in this whole entire series that was like really boring, really. But still, the first part of this issue where you see like the Justice League go against Mongol, that was cool. And then you see Justice League arrive at Challengers Mountain, that was a shock. Because it was like, oh, it's the Challengers of the Unknown. It's cool to see the Challengers of the Unknown, the Red Tornado, Starman, all these old characters getting like brought back into DC continuity. So that was cool. And then after the middle part, which was kind of like slow and not that much happening. He had like Red Tornado wake up, he's like, open the door, it got intense, Batman got away, it got really good. And I really feel like Dreamer the Endless showing up at the end really made this issue stand out. Because if you didn't have that, this first issue would just been like okay. But with Dreamer the Endless showing up, it made this issue go from like okay, like an okay start, to like amazing. I loved it, guys. Like, it was awesome. But yeah, guys, I'm overall gonna give this first issue pretty much like an 8.5 out of 10. I wouldn't say this first issue is as good as like Dark Days the Forge, Dark Days the Casting, but it's a really great start to this series, and at the time I was super intrigued, excited for the next issue. But yeah, guys, with that out of the way, with explaining this first issue of Dark Knight's Metal and reviewing it, let's get to Dark Knight's Metal number 2. Now, to explain a little about Sandman, or just Dreamer, there's pretty much 7 different endless death, there's all sort of desire, and it's based upon our emotions, right? But pretty much Dreamer, he goes into people's dreams, and he actually fought off against different villains of DC universe in his Sandman comic. Like, the very first one he went against was Dr. Destiny. And guys, you all remember, if you read that comic by Neil Gaiman, which is a really amazing comic, but if you guys remember, in that one issue where freaking Dr. Destiny manipulates all these people and has them kill each other, it's a dark comic, and it shows pretty much the Dreamer trying to get his power back, because he was pretty much in prison and he finally got out and he tried to become all powerful, went against Lucifer, different supernatural beings. Now, it's a great series and all, but having him come into the DC universe like pretty much officially in the Dark Knight's Metal series is big, because that pretty much opens up all these can of worms. Like, opens up all this stuff like supernatural beings to come and go against the Justice League and all these heroes. But sadly, in issue number 2, that's not really expanded upon. Actually, in the series, it's not as much. It more gets expanded on in the new Sandman universe, which is great, but I'm not going to be explaining that in this Dark Knight series. But all we see in issue number 2 is there's only one panel of Dreamer the Endless, so that was kind of disappointing, but we come back to him more in issue number 4. But before we dive into the issue, one more thing I gotta explain is that Barbados, the main villain of the story, he did not notice the Positive Matter universe by himself. Like, his whole plan is to pretty much go through the Positive Matter universe, which is the DC universe, and engulf it in the dark multiverse and destroy it in a way, pretty much make it his new home. But he figured out the Positive Matter universe by Batman. Way back in Final Crisis, guys, when Batman went against Darkseid and stuff, awesome storyline. When he fought against Darkseid, shot his Omega Beams and sent Batman to like the dawn of time, pretty much the beginning of time. Barbados saw him. He was like, I don't recognize it, and Barbados went on a search and finally figured out there's actually a Positive Matter universe, there's a DC universe. And that's when he went on a big plan to pretty much find a way to get to this DC universe and engulf in the dark multiverse. Now, over time, there was different people who went on cults and started praising Barbados and carrying out this plan. Now, we find out more about this in this issue, so it's a really interesting story. So guys, Dark Knight's Metal number 2, first off, we have this dope cover right there. We see Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman pretty much fighting out the forces of the dark multiverse. It's pretty much his hands though. Still awesome art by Greg Capullo, and again, it's a shiny cover, which I really like those. But guys, we go to the first page of this comic, and like I said, Batman stole a piece of Nymph Metal, right? And he got away. So now, Superman and all the Justice League are going after him, because Batman has been holding secrets, and he pretty much is gone. And if Batman wanted to get away, he would be gone. Like, no one would be able to find him. So all these heroes are banding together to find him, say no, what he's doing is dangerous, and they need to stop him. They're like, we need to figure this out together. So we see Superman, it starts out, he's in space, and he's trying to hear Batman's heartbeat, but he can't find it. And that's when we see in Gorilla City, we see Green Arrow, and Green Arrow's going after Batman. He's like, I don't see him here. We see in the House of Mystery, we see Constantine and Zatanna. Guys, that's pretty cool. Like, they're looking for him, and Zatanna's like, oh yeah, he had a tracker, like pretty much that resembled him in the wall, but it's not actually him. So pretty much Batman is like confusing all these heroes, putting different trackers that they think it's him, but it's not actually him. Now, in LexCorp, we see Blue Beetle going after Batman. Well, he doesn't find him. Then we see Superman, it's like, hey, maybe he's in the Amazon rainforest. And we see all Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Hal Jordan, and Damian Wayne going after these different Batman. They're like multiple of them, which we don't know which one is the real one. And they're on these motorcycles going through the Amazon rainforest. and we see Damien in like this big tank-like thing. He's like, Wonder Woman, get him, and he's pretty much like tying smack to Wonder Woman, like, you're not getting him, like, you're doing a bad job. Now, we see them going after him, and then we see this dope double-page splash page, which is pretty much just telling who wrote this, Scott Snyder, awesome writer, and pretty much Greg Capullo drawn all the characters. Like, he drew it, and guys, his art in this really conveys it very well. But after that, we continue the story, and we see Hawkman come out of the water, and he goes to take down this next Batman. He thinks he got him, but it's just another, just like clone Batman. So he failed on that. Now we see Flash take down multiple Batmans and wrap them up in a rope. So then finally, we're at the final Batman. This is the last one. So all these heroes are around him, and they're like, oh, we got him. Like, this is easy. And Flash is like, you can't get out of here now, Batman. And then it turns out it's actually Nightwing. And guys, I'll say this, okay, to just clarify. Pretty much Scott Snyder's run is very cohesive. Like, he always brings everything together. Even if he goes to new series, like, it all comes together in the end. And guys, way back in Batman #1, the New 52 run with Scott Snyder, you had like the opening scene, saw Batman teaming up with the Joker to fight off all these different villains in Arkham Asylum. Now you thought it was the Joker, turns out it was Nightwing using a hologram device to look like the Joker, and right here he does the same thing. So he used the hologram device to look like Batman here, and then he pulls out a flower, and it pretty much translates to the terrible green beatdown. Guys, all the heroes freak out. Like, everybody freaks out. Cyborg's like, we gotta get out of here. Wonder Woman's like, oh no, this ain't good. And that's from the Parliament of Trees, which they pretty much come out, and there's Swamp Thing, guys, the protector of the green. You guys, to explain Swamp Thing really quickly, is that pretty much Alan Moore, he explained his Swamp Thing comic in the 80s, one of the famous runs that had Swamp Thing in it, and he pretty much showed that there are many Swamp Things before Alec Holland, the more popular one. And the Parliament of Trees are pretty much all plant life around the world, and every generation they choose like a new protector. So they choose a human being, they pretty much engulf them in plant, and they become Swamp Thing. So Alec Holland is the one of this generation, and the one in the DC Universe. So we have Swamp Thing, and he's protecting the Parliament of Trees and beating down these pretty much heroes. Just beat them up, and pretty much buying Batman time. Now that's when Superman's like, wait a minute, and he goes to the back of Damien's tank, and he's like, oh, I know where Batman is, and he finds Batman in there. Now you think it's Batman first, but we'll get to that soon. But they're talking, Superman's like, why are you doing this, Batman? Why are you keeping secrets? I know you're worried, I can hear your heartbeat, but please just tell me, explain to me what's going on. And that's when Batman tells him, he pretty much explains what's been happening, and he tells Superman, I'm a little afraid that what I've been doing all this time is going to lead to something bad. So he explains that way back at the beginning of Scott Snyder's run, in the first story arc, The Court of Owls, when he got stuck in that labyrinth, that when he drank that water, that because he's very drenched, he was unhydrated, and he's almost about to die, and he drank that to survive, was actually one of the metals. So there's 5 metals, guys. The first one is Electrum. So that was his first encounter with that. Then at the end of the Endgame arc, when he fought against Joker, and he almost died, like Joker was killed and both of them almost died, he used Dionysium. And guys, like I've been saying in the previous parts of the storyline, Dionysium is this pretty much metal and substance that if taken can pretty much make anybody immortal, but it has to be pure. So the more pure it is, the more immortal you get. So with Vandal Savage, when he found the most purest form of Dionysium, he pretty much became immortal all the time. Where Joker and Batman, when they took the Dionysium, is very old, not very pure, so it pretty much just made him immortal for a little bit and brought him back to life. And guys, in Dark Days of Casting, when Joker thought he died and fell into the cave, he got exposed to Dionysium too, so he was healed. Same with Batman here. So Batman has encountered Electrum and Dionysium. Now, after the Endgame arc, when he was trying to get his memory back and become Batman again, he was exposed to Promethium. And guys, that's the 3rd one. Now, the 4th one was in Dark Days of Casting, when he had Duke and Hal Jordan put all the artifacts he's been getting and collecting together with the Dagger of Shazam, and he finally looked into the darkness. So then he was exposed to Nymph Metal. So he's been exposed to 4 of the 5 metals, and what Batman's afraid of, if there's there's a fifth metal out there, and if he's exposed to it, he'll finally become like that gateway, so then that he'll be replaced with Barbados. So he'll be like the cause that lets the Dark Multiverse into the DC Universe, and that's bad, so he's afraid of that. And as they're talking, Superman's buying into it, and Batman's like, it's already here, already in Metropolis, pretty much the cult of Barbados. They're pretty much preparing for this. And Superman, Wonder Woman comes, she's like, oh, what's going on? And Superman's like, wait a minute. And then he pretty much punches a hole right through Superman. Like, guys, that's crazy. When I first read this, I'm like, what the heck? And I remember, like a week before this comic came out, Scott Snyder posted like a picture of this. And it was like uncolored and stuff. And everybody was commenting, like, Superman kills Batman, what? And it turns out it's not actually Batman, it's Clayface. And Wonder Woman at first, she had the same reaction. She's like, what the heck, Superman? Then she's like, oh, okay. Batman was just buying time. He was lying to us again. And Superman's like, we have to find him. Batman is afraid and he's getting to dangerous territory. Now we shift to pretty much the ends of the earth, and it's where the Legion of Doom are. And we see Vandal Savage, a bunch of villains, and that's when Hawkgirl comes in. And she talks to, or Conjure Saunders, I'm just gonna say Hawkgirl. But Hawkgirl walks in, and she's like, hey, this is getting very desperate times. We have to stop Barbados, he's getting close. And Vandal Savage's like, I agree, but we're gonna have to use any means necessary to beat him. Now, then we shift to the Valley of Kings, which is the tomb of Prince Khufu, which that's presumably what it is here. But this is where Hawkman was, and Batman's there, and this is when we see the Dreamer of the Endless, and the Dreamer of the Endless is like, Batman, what you're doing, your plan is not gonna work. It's gonna lead to bad things. And that's the only appearance of him in this issue. So after that big cliffhanger last issue, I was really excited going into this issue of Sea Dreamer, but he barely shows up. So that's a little disappointing, but we'll see him more as the series goes on. Now, Batman's explaining, and he's saying, hey, my whole plan is I'm going to use pretty much the mace of Hawkman, which is in this Valley of Kings, this whole place, this area that he's in. And he's like, I'm going to use it because he believes that Barbados was in the DC Universe. He walked the Earth at one time. And Hawkman used his mace to pretty much banish him back to the Dark Multiverse. So Batman's like, if I can do the same thing, I can save the DC Universe. He doesn't say DC Universe, he says he can save the multiverse. That's when Superman and Wonder Woman walk in, and they're like, Batman, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to use, and that's when he like pulls out Baby Darkseid, which this goes back to the Darkseid War, and how in the Darkseid War, Darkseid fought off against Anti-Mark, and Darkseid died. And then he came back as like a baby, he's growing up, but right now he's just a baby, babysitted by his daughter, Grail. But Batman stole this baby, so he kidnapped Baby Darkseid, and he's like, I'm going to use this Baby Darkseid to create Omega Beams again and push me back to the beginning of time once again, just like Final Crisis, and I'm going to bring this mace of Hawkman with me and destroy Barbados. So this is a very desperate plan, and it's very irrational, and that's not used to, like, we're not used to Batman being like this. We're used to Batman being planned for stuff and being ready to fight off stuff. But here, he's just coming up with plans that may not work. He's just like throwing stuff at the board. And guys, right here, one of them's like, Darkseid's really evil. What are you trying to do, Batman? It could cause more problems. You have to think about this. And Batman's like, I don't have time to think about it. And then that's when we realize, like, when they're talking, we find out this is a trap. This is actually not the Valley of Kings. This is not the place where Hawkman went. This is actually just a ruse. This is a place that the Core of Owls made so then Batman could come into it. And that's when pretty much Batman is hit by like just like a thing that the Core of Owls throw, and different members come out. And turns out the Core of Owls, way back, there's a separate group that pretty much branched off and came like pretty much the cult of Barbados in a way. And they've been trying to carry out Barbados' big plan, and they set all this in motion. All the way back to the Core of Owls story arc in Scott Snyder's run, they set all these pieces in motion and how Batman exposed to Electrum, Dionysium, Prometheum, and also Nithmal, and finally the last one, Batmanium. So they've been doing this all to pretty much expose Batman to this and pretty much release Dark Barbados into the universe. So Batman gets exposed to Batman in the final one. He gets pretty much turned into liquid and transported into the Dark Multiverse, and he's gone. So then, the Core of Owls, these three members, wait for something to come out of that portal. And that's when, pretty much, these zombie Robin of the Batman Who Laughs jumps out and just starts eating them alive. Like, they die. Like, it's pretty gruesome. And then we see Wonder Woman and Superman on the floor, like, they're hopeless. And out of the portal comes Barbados and all his evil Batman. Guys, look at that. That's crazy. Like, you see Batman Who Laughs, who's one of my favorite characters now after the series. Like, he's dope. You see his evil Robin around him. You see the Batman that pretty much came Doomsday. You see the Batman who came like an evil Aquaman type. You saw the Batman who got like the Green Lantern ring and used it to evil effect. You see Red Death, which is pretty much like the Batman who took Flash's powers and became evil. Then we see the Batman who's kind of like a Wonder Woman version, but evil. And then finally, Barbados. You guys, Barbados is huge. Like, he looks evil. And Wonder Woman and Superman are just looking up at this, like, in awe. So on this final page, we pretty much finally see the power of Barbados. And he goes up to Superman, Wonder Woman, pretty much drains the life force out of them and almost kills them. And they go to sleep, and then we see Batman Who Laughs, and he says the final line in the comic. He's like, this is gonna be fun. So this is going to big events now. This is the big stuff. All the setup is over, and we're finally at the point where Barbados has reached the DC universe. So guys, that's issue number 2. A lot of content in a 24-page comic, a lot, guys. So with that out of the way, let's get to my review of this issue. So guys, this is an awesome issue. Like, it pretty much went with the story even more, explained a lot more stuff. We saw Barbados show up, we saw the evil Batman. That one scene where Superman punched through Batman just had me shocked. Like, there's a lot of shocked moments that made sense though. It wasn't just like shock value. No, it was actually like, it shocks you, but then it goes through the story very well. And the art by Greg Apollo is just amazing. Like, he delivers and kills it in this issue. And Scott Snyder's just made it so cohesive and bring the story back to core values and his whole Batman run. It's just so cool, guys. So yeah, guys, this is one of the best issues of the Dark Knight's Metal series. Like that, yeah, the series does get better, but this one's like a pivotal point, and just like pretty much it goes from like setup to like the big stuff that we've been looking forward to. So yeah, guys, this issue, when I first read it, it got me super hyped, and I felt like the ending of this issue was better than issue number 1. So like, yeah, we saw Dream of the Endless, and that was cool, but seeing Barbados and the evil Batman finally get released, which is awesome. But if I'd have one complaint about this issue at the time, I was kind of disappointed that when they made that whole cliffhanger of having like pretty much Dream of the Endless come to the DC universe, I was like, oh, what's gonna happen next? And then he shows up in like one panel. That was my only complaint. But he does show up in issue number 4, and he's more bigger than that, and we'll get to that soon. But still, it's a little disappointing at the time when I read this issue. But yeah, guys, this is an awesome issue. I'm overall going to give it a 9 out of 10. Definitely recommend it. Awesome. Great issue, and pretty much pushes the storyline even forward, and just shows that Scott Snyder knows how to pretty much make crazy stories and evolve Batman's character. But yeah, guys, with the explain part and the review out of Dark Knight's Metal number 2, let's get to Dark Knight's Metal number 3. So guys, in Dark Knight's Metal number 3, we get another dope cover. It's shining again, and we see Barbados, and he's just all powerful. We see Superman, Wonder Woman, Flash, all the Justice League in ruins. Like, they're just on the floor in like these ruins of rocks and stuff, and they're pretty much defeated. And in the background, we see the city, and it's pretty much just telling us that the Dark Multiverse is taking over. So yes, going into this issue, it starts out kind of nice. We see in Smallville, Kansas, we see Damian and John pretty much putting up a concert for Lois, Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman. They're pretty much just playing guitar, and it's a nice rhythm, right? But then Superman notices something, and Bruce starts bleeding. He starts having a bat symbol and bleeds out of his chest, and Barbados comes out. He just brings a stabs through Bruce. Bruce is destroyed to pieces, and Barbados pretty much replaced him. And Damian and John, like, Damian's like, Father, what happened? And Superman's shocked by this. Wonder Woman jumps at Lois to save her, and Superman's like, we beat you. Pretty much this is set after they beat Barbados, presumably. That's what Superman thought. He's like, we beat you, and Barbados is like, you never beat me. I just made this a ruse to make you think that you beat me. And he's like, all roads lead to darkness. So what you also saw with pretty much with how Damian and John were playing was it spelled out Carpe Diem. So that'll come into play soon, guys. So think about that. Remember Carpe Diem. So then we see the evil Batman, they're all together, it's all flames, it's like scared, right? And they're riding toward Superman. Superman's held by Barbados, and Barbados just starts draining the life force out of him and killing him. And that's when we shift to the real world, and Superman wakes up. And Wonder Woman's like, wake up, Superman. And she's like, what did you see? And Superman's like, I was going through all these nightmares, seeing different versions of me dying. It was like I was teaming up with like the villains. I was teaming up with like Orion, Mr. Miracle to fight off Barbados. And each time I lost. Every time I thought I won, I actually lost, and Barbados would come back and kill me. So Superman's pretty afraid of this, but he's like, hey, now that we're awake, let's actually bring this to an end. So you guys, then Superman and Wonder Woman are like, okay, we have to stop this. So they go on a journey and they start flying, right? And it's been 7 days since pretty much Barbados arrived in the DC universe. So 7 days since the last issue. And we see them flying through, and we see all these people like evil Doomsdays. They've been pretty much turned from humans into evil Doomsdays by the Devastator, one of the evil Batman. And then Superman asks Wonder Woman, hey, where's John and Lois? And Wonder Woman's like, Lois has been turned into an evil Doomsday, and John is nowhere to be found. And Superman's like, where is Barbados? He's mad and emotional. And Woman's like, he's in Gotham City, but you don't understand. And that's when Superman just flies at light speed over to Gotham City to fight off Barbados, and he sees pretty much all these people like almost pretty much dead in a way, and we see Barbados, he's all powerful and with evil Joker dragons flying around him. Like, that's a dope shot, guys. Evil Joker dragons, like, come on. And then we see Superman, he starts flying toward Barbados, and then he's attacked by the Devastator, pretty much the Batman who became an evil Doomsday type, and he's pretty much just like wrecking everything. And he fights off against Superman. Superman is just punched really hard, and Superman has like a rock on symbol right there, which I think that's just Scott Snyder just putting that in there just to be put in there because he likes rock and roll. But still, that's cool. And then we see obviously the big double page spread, metal, and it's written by Scott Snyder and drawn by Greg Capullo. And then next, Superman gets punched very hard by the Devastator and gets pushed, like pretty much pushed ways away, and he gets hit in the snow, and this turns out to be Crime Valley, where pretty much Batman's parents died. And that's when Batman last walks out, he's like, oh, I remember this place, my parents died, this, that. He explains his origin story, and then he says, I'm over it. So he doesn't care about that, he's full evil, guys. He has his evil Robins, and then you see all the evil Batman surround Superman, and they start just punching, beating the crap out of him, like they're pretty much in a way killing him. And that's when Flash comes out of nowhere, grabs Superman, and whooshes away. It's like this portal created by Dr. Fate, and they get away. Like, Superman's like, where are we going? What's going on, Flash? And that's when they show up to the Oblivion Bar. Now guys, the Oblivion Bar was one of DC's more obscure characters. The Nightmaster pretty much saw this place, and this is pretty much like a last-ditch effort. If everywhere else is pretty much dark and everything's going bad, you go to the Oblivion Bar and plan out things. And this is where all the heroes are. And Superman talks to them, and he sees Concha Saunders, he sees Green Lantern, Flash, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman there, and they tell him, hey, we've been saving different people, bringing them here, and the Dark Knights and Barbados haven't noticed. But now that we have saved you in mid-fight, like he was fighting out the evil Batman, and when Flash got him, they pretty much noticed, and they saw them go to the Oblivion Bar. So the heroes were like, we only have a couple minutes. The evil Batman will be here soon, and we need to get out of here, so we gotta make a plan. And that's when Nightwing explains, he explains what happened in the past 7 days. He's like, we lost, the Barbados took over, and pretty much there's like a bunch of robotic Batman, pretty much Batman the Merciless, who's like a cyborg Batman, came in, made these robotic Batman, and he's killing people in Detroit. And then we have in Central City, the Red Death, the Batman who pretty much stole Flash's powers and became evil. He's like infecting people with the Speed Force and killing them. And then we have like the Devastator Batman infecting people with like Doomsday Toxin. They're coming like big Doomsday type people. So everything's going bad, guys. People are not doing well, people are dying. And Superman's like, how are we gonna stop this? And Nightwing tells me, he's like, well, we have to plan out something. And Green Arrow comes, he's like, hey, when I teamed up with Damian, Nightwing, and that's like a separate story, Gotham Resistance, which I'll cover in another video down the line, but it's just like an interlude story. But they say in their adventures, going after these evil Batman, they discovered that Nith Metal actually hurts these evil Batman. Different metals like Promethium, Electrum, Dionysium, all these metals that Batman was exposed to actually hurts these evil Batman in Barbados. So Green Arrow says this is our secret weapon against them. And Green Arrow's like, we have to get this to him and defeat him soon. Now Dr. Fate, Mr. Terrific, Steel, all these old characters are gathering together to plan out pretty much an attack. And that's when Green Lantern, Aquaman, and Wonder Woman are like, okay, so we have to find all these different metals throughout the DC universe, throughout like the cosmos. And Wonder Woman actually references the Rock of Eternity, which is actually where Shazam is. Throughout the story, we don't know where Shazam is. We're like, where is Shazam? And when they referenced this was really cool. I was like, oh, Shazam's gonna come into the story. So their whole plan is to go to different parts of the DC universe, get these metals, come together, and then fight off Barbados. In order to carry out this plan, they need 4 people who have had connection with these metals. So Dr. Fate, Steel, Plastic Man, but they need one more, and Nightwing's like, we can't carry out the plan then. And Damian Wayne's like, don't give up, we have to do this. And that's when Deathstroke, well actually before Deathstroke comes, an evil Robin comes out of nowhere, and Deathstroke throws like a sword, kills this Robin. So that means the evil Batman and the evil Batman are coming soon. So they gotta hurry up. And that's when Deathstroke's like, hey, I'll do the job. And turns out his armor is made out of promethium. So this makes Deathstroke really powerful. Like, his armor is pretty good, it protects him, and he'll be the one to join the fight. And then Bobo comes out of nowhere. He's like, okay, this is our last call, we have to do this. And Wonder Woman's like, we're out of time, they're here. And that's when Superman, all of them team up to go with Dr. Fate. Dr. Fate pretty much transports them to different parts, and they all go on their separate journey. Now, as they go, the Nightmaster is left there, and a couple of heroes are left, and a bunch of them start leaving, and the Nightmaster's like, oh, I can pretty much fight them off, it's fine. And the evil Batman shows up and starts releasing the evil Robin up against the Nightmaster. Now guys, then we see pretty much Wonder Woman, Dr. Fate, and Contra Saunders. They go to the sands of Biolia, which I think I pronounced that right, but that's more in like Egyptian territory, to go after the entrance to the Rock of Eternity. Now then we see Space Sector 2682, the Polaris system. We see Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, and the Plastic Egg, which is Plastic Man. And then we see Aquaman and Deathstroke going in the Moria Trench, which is down like Atlantis. And then we see pretty much the Fortune of Solitude. Superman wants to do one more thing, because he remembers when he was at the beginning of this comic, remember Carpe Diem, when in his nightmare, pretty much Batman was saying Carpe Diem when Robin and John was playing the guitar. He was pretty much spelling that out. And Superman thinks that means come help and come rescue me. So Superman's like, before we go on this journey, when all these people are trying to get these different medals, I need to save Batman so we can come together and beat Barbados. And Flash and Steel are like, okay, so they make it to the Fortress of Solitude, which is where the Cosmic Tuning Fork is. Guys, the Cosmic Tuning Fork for the Crisis on Infinite Earths, Infinite Crisis, it's a big thing. So, pretty much they use the Phantom Zone, which Superman thinks is like a bridge between their world and the Dark Multiverse. So it's not just like, it's kind of like a room, but it's not like an endless void. But they use that, and Superman's like, if I pretty much run with the Flash around the Cosmic Tuning Fork, go through the Phantom Zone, and then make it to the Dark Multiverse, I can save Batman. They use Steel as like an antenna to pretty much guide them through like the Phantom Zone. Superman and Flash start racing around the Cosmic Tuning Fork. Like, it's pretty dope, guys. They start racing, and finally, Flash like pushes Superman through, and he gets to the Phantom Zone and into the Dark Multiverse. Now, before we get to the final part of this comic, we go back to the Oblivion Bar, and it's pretty much destroyed, guys. We see Batman Flash just like drinking beer, and with the evil Batman around them, and we see the Nightmaster. He has pretty much a sword through his head. He's dead, and guys, this is big because the Nightmaster was the protector of Mira, which he protected from zombies, different things, kept in order. So after this storyline, it goes into the Justice League Dark series. And to explain it really quickly, after that, Bobo has to become the new Nightmaster, has to protect this, but he fails. And Mira is pretty much engulfed with zombies, and it doesn't go well, and the Justice League Dark has to come back and save it. Having the Nightmaster be killed starts up like a whole chain of events that causes Mira to be in trouble. So Batman Blast, he doesn't notice this. He's just like, oh, I just killed Nightmaster, and I'm gonna take a quick break, and then we'll go back to hunting down the heroes. Now, we see Superman, he makes it to the Dark Multiverse, and he thinks that, oh, I can save Batman, but it turns out it's a trap. So he sees this whole building of people just plugged in, and they're having their life force drained of them because they're pretty much going through their nightmares every day. That sucks. But they see Superman then gets attacked by evil Superman in this Dark Multiverse, and he's chained up to this building. And Batman's like, I warned you, when I had you in that nightmare, Carpe Diem actually mean like, it wasn't like CD, which is like Clark and Dinah, which pretty much back in Superman the Trinity comics, in like before the New 52 and the new one, the Trinity comic and Rebirth, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman had like this code. So if Batman wanted to be saved, he'd pretty much say CD, which means like Clark and Dinah, so that means come rescue me, and it was pretty much like vice versa of the other three. But what he was actually trying to say is DC, which means don't come here, don't come to the Dark Multiverse. And Superman fell into the trap, and he's plugged into this building, and they start draining the life force out of him, and this is the last thing that Barbados need to gain energy to take over the DC Universe. So all is lost, guys. It's big stuff happening. Superman's plugged in, Batman's there, so the two biggest heroes in the DC Universe are hopeless and can't do anything. And that's how the issue ends. So pretty big stuff, guys, and this was issue number 3, and the story actually continues in Batman Lost. We found out what was happening to Batman while he was stuck in this building and stuck in the Dark Multiverse, and how he's been going through different nightmares. And that's what Superman's doing too now. He's going through nightmares again, and he's powering Barbados' force, and pretty much Barbados is going to use his power to take over the DC Universe. So, pretty awesome issue, awesome art, and with this explained part of the video down, let's get to my review of Dark Knight's Metal number 3. So guys, this issue was pretty good. It wasn't the best. It was cool seeing all these heroes pretty much hopeless fight off against the evil Batman. Batman Lost was awesome. All sorts of the evil Batman were really cool. And then Barbados was great, like the evil Joker dragons, that was dope. Greg Capullo's art was just killing it again. Like, Greg Capullo kills it throughout this series. Like, he does such a great job. It shows how crazy Scott Snyder's writing is, and it gets me really excited for Death Metal coming in a couple months. So yeah, guys, pretty much here, and seeing like Batman, he's plugged in, Superman's plugged in now, and then seeing Dr. Fate, Mr. Terrific, Flash, Green Lantern, all of these heroes here, which is really cool. It's bringing back a bunch of the heroes before New 52, and that's really cool. And seeing Scott Snyder bring his whole run together back from like the beginning of the Batman run, it just shows how cohesive he is and how he remembers what he does. And just seeing how like this issue comes together with like the intro of the issue with like them Superman, like he beat Barbados, and with Damian and John putting like a concert to them, and then it like comes together at the end that it was a trap. Superman thought, I have to save Batman, but turns out Batman was like, don't come to the Dark Multiverse. That was really cool. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much for review. I'm overall going to give this issue an 8.8 out of 10. It was better than issue number 1, but not as good as issue number 2. And yeah, guys, we're done with issue number 3 now, and we're going to dive into Batman Lost number 1, and then we'll come back to this series in issue number 4. So yeah, guys, with that out of the way, let's get to Batman Lost number 1. Now, guys, we're jumping into Batman Lost number 1. Now, this is more like an interlude issue. It's not in the main Dark Knight's Metal series, but it's pretty much telling us where Batman has been. Because what happened was Batman was going on a journey, getting different artifacts, trying to figure out what this Nth Metal was, just like Hawkman was. He was leaving secrets, not trusting the Justice League. He was hanging on to this alone. And then he eventually got exposed throughout Scott Snyder's Batman run to 4 different metals, which was Electrum, Dionysium, Promethium, and Nth Metal. And then finally, he got into this trap at the end of issue number 2 of Dark Knight's Metal, and he's exposed to Batmanium. And that caused him to get transported to the Dark Multiverse and pretty much replaced with Barbados and the evil Batman. So they're pretty much storming the DC Universe, destroying, and these heroes are dealing with the fallout, while Batman's stuck in this Dark Multiverse, living out like all the nightmares he's dreamt of. So every nightmare, all the worst things he can imagine, he's going through. And that's what this issue is. Now, he doesn't get out of the Dark Multiverse, spoiler alert, like he doesn't get out because it's between issue number 2 and 3. Because as you remember, at the end of issue number 3, Superman went to save him, but ended up being trapped, and he ended up getting stuck in the Dark Multiverse too. So this is just showing us Batman in the Dark Multiverse trying to get out, and him going through like a different loop. So guys, we start out with this dope cover right here. It's kind of like Barbados in the back. We see Batman, it's drawn very well, it's cool. And the issue starts out, we see pretty much Bruce, he's older, and he's in like the Wayne Manor, he's in a chair, and then he has pretty much his girl, who's kind of like his granddaughter, come up to him. She's like, hey, can you read a story to me? Like, I want to hear a story, like a real story, not a fantasy story, before I go to bed. And Bruce is like, oh yeah, sure. He's kind of like an old grandpa. He's checking out the place, he's just reading stories. And she's like, okay, I'll pick one for you. And she picks off a book from the bookshelf, and it's actually the chemical incident from Batman number 27, the very first appearance of Batman in the DC Universe. Like, it's a very valuable comic. If you have it, it's worth like millions of dollars. But she picks it up, gives it to him, and she's like, can you please read it? He's like, okay, I'll go ahead and read it to you. And it starts out, you see this guy, he's pretty much waiting in like this building, and he was framed for like a murder, killing his father. And he's pretty much waiting for Batman to come and just investigate. Now Batman shows up, throws a battering, and he's like, okay, I know it wasn't you that killed your father, because you touched the knife after he died, and it has your fingerprints, but you were there, you didn't actually kill him, so we gotta figure this out. Now, Batman starts investigating, it's going well, right? And he starts looking in the window, and he starts noticing this isn't right. This is not how the story went. In Detective Comics No. 27, the very first appearance of Batman, it actually went different. Like, Batman did not, like, show up and talk to this guy and hear, like, the whole story. He was actually just Bruce Wayne, and he talked to Commissioner Gordon, and Commissioner Gordon told him the story, and then Batman eventually came into play, and we didn't know Bruce was Batman until the end of the story. So this is playing out differently. Now, as we go on, then Batman's transported, and he's like, oh, where am I now? And he's actually back at the beginning of time. Now, back in Final Crisis, when he got pretty much almost killed by Darkseid by his Omega Beams and shot to the beginning of time, he was stuck in the past. And he would pretty much put like symbols of the bat in a cave that he would live in to remember himself so he wouldn't forget who he is. Now, what he would cause, though, is these cavemen, different people would see this symbol and pretty much make a bat tribe. And then there'd be a bird tribe, and they'd go against each other. So he caused like a war in a way without him knowing it. So this bat tribe would be in a way going in the plans of Barbados and praising him, but they didn't actually know they were doing that. They just thought, oh, we're making a tribe after this symbol. And Batman didn't know he was pretty much creating a tribe. He was just making the symbol to remember that he is Batman and he's a hero, and to pretty much keep going before he died, because he didn't know he was going to get back to the DC Universe. He didn't know that the Justice League would save him in Final Crisis. He thought he was just shot by Darkseid, shot back to the beginning of time, and that was it. But guys, we see him, and this girl in like a hood shows up, and she's talking to him, telling the story, and she was the one who pretty much brought that nip melt and brought Barbados' like symbol to this to the world of the DC Universe. And as it goes on, the Bird Tribe, Bat Tribe fight, Bat Tribe pretty much in Barbados. Barbados comes, and if you think about what happens is Hawkman and Barbados fought. Barbados got banished back to the Dark Knight, to the Dark Multiverse, and pretty much the Bird Tribe won. But that's why Barbados, he pretty much saw this a positive matter universe, and that was his first shot at getting it. So he decided, hey, I need to try something different. I can't just go in there with the tribe. I need to pretty much manifest with somebody, and I'll replace them with me in the DC Universe. And that is Bruce Wayne. That's Batman, guys. So Batman is the symbol of a bat, and pretty much all this stuff is planned out with the Core of Owls and pretty much the cult of Barbados. And they plan with Batman get exposed to all these metals like Dionysium, Electrum, Promethium, and Nipmel. He gets exposed to this, then he'll get transported to Dark Multiverse, and Barbados can finally come to the DC Universe and engulf it with like darkness. So it's a big plan and kind of complicated, but Batman is at the center of this, and he's actually the big cause that brought Barbados to the DC Universe. Now as Batman goes on, he's getting confused, he's like, what's going on? And then you see like a future Damian Wayne. It's going back to like Grant Morrison's run with like Final Crisis. And Batman's like, wait, this is not how this turned out, like how he's fighting off Damian. He's like, I don't remember the story being like this. Then Damian Wayne goes to shoot at Batman, and then we're transported back to the chemical incident. And we see Batman here inside this like little tube thing, and he punches out of it, goes after this one guy who's actually the one who caused the murder, instead caused pretty much to frame the guy at the beginning of the story and in the Detective Comics No. 27. And then he goes to fight this guy, but then what happens next is he's transported somewhere else. So instead of going after this guy, now he's inside like this church. And there he is. It's like Dr. Hurt, and Dr. Hurt, who is actually in Grant Morrison's run, and he pretty much was trying to figure out about this Nithmel, trying to figure out about this darkness. He was kind of on the same path that Batman was, but he created a cult and would sacrifice people to Barbados. And he sacrificed this girl, and it was going as the story is, but then all of a sudden, this girl looks like Catwoman. She looks like Selina Kyle, and it throws Bruce off. Bruce is like, what the heck is going on? And he looks at this girl, and the girl says to him, Selina Kyle, says, how it happened originally, I wasn't sacrificed. I just burned to death. And it's pretty dark stuff, and Batman's like, enough of this. I can't handle this. and then he's transported back to this other world. And this world, it's at the end of like the Batman Endgame arc and Scott Snyder's Batman run, and you see that pretty much everybody in the world has given up on heroes. They're like tired of it. They pretty much went with the villains, and the villains took over, and they're going after each hero and killing them. So now you have these different, like, pretty much gangs going after different heroes, and this new gang, which is pretty much, like Joker, and they're working for Joker, working for Two-Face, different villains going after Batman. And you see that, like, these people cosplayed as Green Arrow, cosplayed as Batman, like, what do we do? We're about to die. What do we do, Batman? And Batman's confused, and he's like, I'm stopping this now. And he starts running toward it, and then he's transported back to the chemical incident. So as he went through that door and was going after that guy, he then goes after him, the guy falls into the chemical acid, the guy pretty much dies, and the Batman, we then see Alan Wayne, we like shift away from Bruce, we see Alan Wayne, he's actually the first guy to notice about the core valves and the whole Barbados thing. Because what the core valves was doing, this section of them, it was like a branch off version of them, they were pretty much putting metal in all these buildings in Gotham City and playing out Barbados' return. Well, not his return, but his emergence in the DC universe and bringing him into this universe. And Alan Wayne figured this out, and he started going after it and started to stop it, and he started playing out, but then a Talon showed up and killed him. And in this story, because what Talons do, the Core Valves send Talons after people who start figuring out the plans. So it's like a conspiracy, but if they actually start to figure out the facts and start releasing it, it's time for them to die. Now, then we see, actually in the original Scott Snyder story in Batman, at the beginning of his Batman run, you saw that Alan Wayne, he actually didn't get killed. He just started screaming like a lunatic through the streets, and the cops got him and arrested him, and that was it. Like, he wasn't a problem anymore for the Core Valves. Now we shift to Bruce in like a road, he starts running through the streets, the cops then arrest him now, and then we see one woman, and we're like, what's going on? And then he falls through like a sewer, just like how Alan Wayne, when he was arrested by the cops at the beginning of Scott Snyder's Batman run, he was then pulled through the sewer by a Talon and presumably killed. So that's what happens to Bruce, but he isn't killed. Bruce is pulled through there, and then he pretty much shows up in space, and he's with Harley Quinn, out of all people, Harley Quinn, flying through space, and it's kind of random. He's just flying, he's trying to survive, then he falls out of the ship, and is in space and is dying, and then he shows up back again at the chemical incident. And we're like, what? It just goes back and forth, and he's with the cops, and he's analyzing everything, telling them about stuff, and he's telling about the birds, how they came through the window, and we pretty much see this thing that the birds are either people who can fly or like robins. And it shows that Batman uses people like Superman, Nightwing, these people who have good morals and believe in hope and stuff to anchor him. So Batman's always trying to investigate, stop things, do it for the greater good. But ever if he goes into madness, like now, or ever if he loses himself, he always has these people like the Justice League, Superman, Nightwing, to bring him back from the brink of insanity and keep him pretty much with good morals. And that's what they are, and that's pretty interesting, guys. Now, Batman then goes around, and all of a sudden the story stops. Like, his granddaughter, we go back to the Wayne Manor, old Bruce Wayne in the chair explaining the story. The granddaughter turns like demonic, and she starts having big teeth and climbs up the walls, and Bruce is like, what's going on? He's like starting to notice I'm actually in the dark multiverse, and he's like, oh, all these stories, they're stories of my past. And he goes to the window and he sees like pretty much a reflection of himself, and that's Barbados. Now, Barbados then explains, I pretty much planned out your whole life, all the stuff that happened, every case that you did, I was there, I planned it out so that now you're pretty much just a vessel of me. The whole reason of your life is just to help me make it to the universe and engulf it with darkness. And Bruce is like, no, that can't be true. And Bruce then tries to punch through the thing, and he punches through this window, gets out of Wayne Manor, and we see this huge freaking splash page of Barbados, huge, talking to Bruce, and Barbados shows all you've seen is a couple of nightmares. Throughout this is all nightmares that Bruce has had. And he's like, you just seem like a couple, maybe like a dozen. But there's thousands. This whole dark multiverse is all the nightmares these heroes have. And if I just stuck you and put you through every single one of them, you would not be able to keep up. You would die, grow insane, and you would never get out of here. And then he shows right now, as you're stuck here, I'm pretty much having my evil Batman go against your heroes, and they're eventually gonna beat them. And it shows like these heroes are getting beat by each one of them. And he's like, eventually your universe will turn into my dark multiverse, and everything will be like what you've been seeing. It's all nightmares, it's chaos, and Bruce is like, no, that can't be. He's like growing, he's like getting worried, and Barbados is like, this is all because of you, since you got shot back to Final Crisis, because you made a misstep, since you couldn't beat me, and it's all your fault that everyone around you is going to die. He tells Batman that he's the big reason this is all happening. And Batman's like, no, that can't be true. Like, Batman's always like, I want to save people. It's always for like justice, the greater good. He doesn't like having people die. And he's like, all the people that keep me anchored, keep me from the brink of insanity, like Superman, Nightwing, all my friends. And Barbados is like, they're all going to die because of you. And that's when we pretty much shift back to the beginning of the book. And we see the granddaughter, she's not demonic anymore, she's like, oh, read me a story. She picks out another story, and we see Bruce going through the same time loop. So for many days, like 7 days or so, probably centuries in Bruce's mind, he's going through the same loop. That's his fault. That's his fault that all these people are going to die. He's seen all these nightmares of his past. And that's what he's experiencing before Superman shows up. So yeah, guys, he's experiencing a lot in this dark multiverse, and we see that pretty much he's stuck. He's lost in the dark. And that's how that issue caps off. I know, guys, a lot of stuff, but to keep it simple for you, pretty much it's just Batman, he's in the dark multiverse, going through nightmares. Barbados is pretty much showing him that he's just a vessel. The whole reason of his life is to be a vessel so Barbados can make it to the DC universe and engulf in darkness, and he's the reason that all of his friends are going to die. And Batman's getting stuck in this, and he can't get out of the dark multiverse. That's pretty much it. But yeah, guys, with the explain part out of this video, let's get to my review of this issue. So guys, this issue was really dope. Like, it was really cool. Seeing like all the artists like George Shermaz, Doug Monick, they just gave like their best work. It was kind of like a love letter to Batman's history in like, not the worst way, but like nightmare versions. It was showing different things like Detective Comics, like a reference to Detective Comics number 27, that story of the chemical incident. The reference to after Final Crisis, what Batman was experiencing when he was stuck at the beginning of time. It showed more of Barbados, what his motives are, about how he wants the dark multiverse to take over, and pretty much he used Batman as like that vessel to get here because he's pretty much like a symbol of a bat. So that was really interesting. I liked it. And again, it shows that Scott Snyder, he knows how to be cohesive and bring everything together. And it's a lot of stuff going on, and you can't get confused while you read it. But I hope I explained it well and got you guys to kind of understand what was happening. But it was a great story. Now, it's not essential if you're reading Dark Knight's Metal. Like, yeah, you just say, okay, Batman went through some nightmares. That's it. That's really what happened in this issue. But reading it is just so awesome because the writing by Scott Snyder and James Tynion is just so good. And I recommend you read it, and that's why I'm going to give this issue a 9.2 out of 10. Definitely recommend it. It's awesome. And yeah, guys, with this out of the way, let's get to Dark Knight's Metal number 4. So guys, right off the bat, we have a dope cover right here. It shows Dreamer of the Endless. He returns in this issue finally. Way back in issue number 1, he showed up, made a cameo, and that's about it. It was pretty much like a cool cliffhanger. But now we start to see why he's in this story. And we see the bottom, we see all the worlds in the back, we see Wonder Woman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Superman, and they're pretty important in this whole saga. They're like the Trinity, the big Trinity of DC. So obviously they're going to be in the cover. But as we go along, the first page pretty much recaps everything I just said. There's 3 separate groups of heroes going after Nithmel, the only source that can pretty much beat Barbados, while Flash and Steel are searching for like people to recruit in the help to beat Barbados around the multiverse. Now, we see Batman stuck here, and we see these evil Superman show up. He wakes up from the nightmares. So he's been going through nightmares for 30 years. He's old, and what we figure out is pretty much time goes different in different universes. So the concept of time is different, and how it goes is like in our universe, maybe like 6 years. Well, it's imagine 6 years here, and another universe that can actually be like 100 years. So it's wildly different. And here, when it's only been 7 days in the DC universe, in the dark multiverse, it's been 30. So Batman's been stuck here for a while. But these evil Superman show up, and there's pretty much like 3 of them. One of them is the Superman in like a Lex Luthor costume, like a LexCorp one. It's pretty cool. And then we see another one. It's like a combination of Steel's costume and like the Batman Dark Knight's Returns costume. So that's cool. But in the back we see the Man of Energy, which is a different type of Superman who's like injected with like blue kryptonite. And guys, pretty much a quick like origin of the Man of Energy. Way back when Superman died going against Doomsday, that was a big thing in his whole history. A lot of fans loved that. Like they're like, oh, this is crazy. Then DC brought it back a year later, and there was like outrage with the fans. They're like, okay, you did this big thing, but then you just like retconned it so quickly. And after that, DC was like, crap, all the sales in the Superman comics are just going down, so we need to make something interesting. And that's when they introduced like the Man of Energy, like two different types. There's the red one, which is like the evil one, and the blue one, which is like a good one. So they had to like butt heads and figure out what to do, and like a big storyline. It was a pretty interesting storyline, but I'm not going to dive into that because that's a whole separate thing to go into. But seeing him here is really interesting because it goes back to like old DC lore, and it shows that that lore is still here after like New 52 and after Rebirth, and that's pretty cool. But guys, as we go, Superman's like, okay, so Batman, your whole thing was pretty much open the gate and bring Superman here, but you are pretty much useless now. So we're gonna pretty much just put you down into nightmares and you'll be gone forever. And Bruce is like, no, that's not happening. I'm not dying here. And he's like, one thing you guys forgot, and guys, Barbados forgot about this. Never give Batman prep time. Like, you give Batman prep time, he'll make it out of any situation. And that's what he does here. So he pulls out like a gauntlet of sorts, and he says the real Clark Kent never had like an imagination of weapons, he never cared for weapons, so that means in this dark multiverse, that's the total opposite. So they always cared for weapons, and that means they pretty much went and took the weapons of Batman. So Batman knows his own weapons, he's like, I know these, and he pulls out this gauntlet, and he calls it like the five-finger death punch. Like, that's a crazy name, guys. And he's like, this gauntlet has 5 different types of kryptonites, so it's gonna hurt you guys. So who wants to go first? So all the Supermans charge out, and we're like, we have to take him down. And Batman's like, wake up, Superman, we gotta get out of here. And he grabs Superman, he's like, dream of the endless, Daniel, come soon. And that's when Batman and Superman are transported somewhere else, and Superman, the evil Supermans, the 3 of them, and a bunch of others are like, where'd they go? So they're out of the dark multiverse, they're kind of safe. But now they're on the journey to figure out how to beat Barbados and team up with Dream of the Endless. So we shift now, we see this cool double-page splash page of pretty much the same metal, written by Scott Snyder, drawn by Greg Capullo. It's dope. And then we see, to the Rock of Eternity, we see Dr. Fate, Contra Saunders, and Wonder Woman fighting off the 7 evil deadly sins, which they're pretty much a captive in the Rock of Eternity, because in the Rock of Eternity we had like the Wizard of Shazam. So the Wizard of Shazam and Shazam pretty much kept these 7 evil deadly sins pretty much captive and kept them from getting out, right? But they're out and they're guarding this place. So they're like, we don't want anybody getting here. And Wonder Woman's like, we gotta figure out where the Nth Melt is in the Rock of Eternity. So they take down these 7 evil deadly sins, and Dr. Fate is walking around, and he's like, I sense the Nth Melt, but I don't know where it is. And they start walking, he's like, I sense pretty much darkness, it's somewhere around here. And Condra, she's looking around for something. We don't know what it is, but we'll find out later in this issue. Now what we see next is Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific with like the plastic eggs. Like I said, Plastic Man, he's not out yet. He's stuck in this egg and he hasn't woken up yet. But they're on Vanguard Prime, and they come across pretty much all these Hawkmen, and these Hawkmen are led by their new leader, which is Aminar Sin. And guys, this guy, he's always been trying to conquer Vanguard Prime, because Vanguard Prime was ruled by Hawkman, Hawkgirl. They went at war against Aminar Sin. He's like the big villain there, and finally he's invaded, taking it over after a Hawkman disappearance and Hawkgirl being gone, which like Contra Saunders, she's at like the Rock of Eternity, so she's not guarding her home. So he talks to pretty much Mr. Terrific and Green Lantern, telling him that, oh, I pretty much have this Nth Melt in me, and I took over, and I pretty much led you guys here. And he tells them, I plan on pretty much releasing this cannon. Once like the Dark Multiverse takes over Earth and it comes out of control, I'm going to use this big cannon to destroy Earth, killing all these people, and prevent the Dark Multiverse from coming to Vanguard Prime. So it pretty much shows that other planets in the cosmos don't trust Earth. They're like, there's a lot of stuff, bad stuff going on there, so in case something goes wrong, we have like a second plan, like a backup to destroy it. And that's what Aminar Sin is doing here. And then we see that he's teaming up with Starro, which that's cool. Starro is legit. Like, he's one of my favorite characters. He's the first villain against the Justice League way back in the first appearance. And he's teaming up with them, and Mr. Terrific's like, is this what you really want to do? And Green Lantern's like, we have to figure out a way. We need to find that Nip-Mel. You need to give it to us. And Aminar Sin is like, no, I won't. It's actually on him, and he won't give it away. Now, we go to Dream of the Endless talking to Bruce and Superman. So they went to this one place called the Lelouchian Library, and this library consists of all the dreams of everyone around the multiverse. So when you go to sleep at night, all your good dreams, all the dreams go here, but also your nightmares too. And the nightmares are starting to take over this library, and the dark multiverse takes over. This library will pretty much be engulfed with darkness and nightmares, and that's not good. Dream of the Endless is like, pretty much, I can't interfere with this whole conflict. And Batman and Superman are like, why? The whole universe is about to be destroyed and you won't help out? He's like, I can't. All I can give you guys is information and how to beat Barbados. So he tells them pretty much what the other heroes know, that you need Nip-Mel to beat Barbados. This is the only thing that'll beat him. And he starts to explain pretty much the origin of the universe. Now, at first when I saw this, I was like, man, Scott Snyder's gonna explain the origin of the universe. Once again, like, we've heard this so many times, but he actually puts a spin on it. So he says, obviously there's the Monitor, the Anti-Monitor, two different universes, all these Earths, but there's also a World Forger. And what this World Forger did, this other, like, being, this big, like, powerful being did, was create worlds and put them into these two different universes, the Anti-Monitor universe and our universe. And what happened, the stable ones would go there, but the unstable ones, he would give them to this, like, this dragon, this unknown dragon, and pretty much this dragon, its whole job is to destroy them and then keep going, because we don't want these unstable planets and these unstable universes to take over the good ones. Now, this dragon did not do its job. This dragon actually took all these universes over time and built the dark multiverse out of it, and it's all these nightmares and all these unstable Earths. And this dragon is Barbados, so it's kind of an origin of Barbados in a way. Now, this World Forger is the only thing that, like, this being can make Nip-Mel. So if Batman and Superman go to the World Forge, which is like this other place, it's a very powerful place, and if they go there and talk with the World Forger and pretty much convince him to make Nip-Mel, they'll use that to beat Barbados. But if Barbados got there first, then all hope is lost. There's no way they could defeat Barbados. So Dream of the Endless is like, I wish you luck, go get this, I hope you find what you're looking for. And Superman and Batman are like, okay, we gotta go. But then, before they go, so guys, then we have this nice scene with Superman and Batman. Now, before they go, Batman's pretty much like, no, I can't do it, Superman, I can't go with you. Superman's like, stop it, we have to go, we're running out of time. And Batman's like, I've seen all these failures all when I was stuck within these nightmares, and I see I fell all the time, there's no hope, I can't do this, I don't have that sense of wonder, I have no reason to keep going. And Superman's like, think of all the stuff we need to save, your children, pretty much everyone you saved, all the justice you tried to invoke and stuff. And Batman remembers that, he's like, okay, I'll give you a shot, I'll go with you and we'll help out. And he actually smiles. We see Batman smile. And Superman's like, it's good to have you back, old friend. And they travel through this portal into the World Forge. So this is a really nice scene. It's one of the best scenes in this comic. I really love it because it shows that Scott Snyder knows how to write Superman and Batman very well. Now, what we see next is we go back to Wonder Woman. Well, we see in Vanguard Prime that Green Lantern and Mr. Terrific are pretty much imprisoned, but we go to Vanguard, well, we also see Atlantis, we see Aquaman and Deathstroke, they're going closer to the Nip-Mel, and then we go back to the Rock of Eternity, and we see Wonder Woman, Dr. Fate, and pretty much Hawkgirl, Contra Saunders, they're looking around, and then we see Contra going to this pretty much place. Now, guys, remember, Rock of Eternity has a bunch of artifacts, but it also has these rooms that if you go through them, you go through portals, you can go through anywhere in the universe. So Conjure walks into a room where there's this portal, and turns out she has the brain of the Anti-Monitor. That's crazy. This just got really crazy, guys. And way back in issue number 2, when she met up with Vandal Savage and he said, oh, we have to do anything by any means necessary to beat Barbados. And guys, I didn't reveal what he said he would give to her because I wanted to wait for this reveal, alright? So what he gave to her was the brain of the Anti-Monitor, and what she's going to do is throw it in there in hopes of pretty much it's going to destroy Barbados, destroy the Dark Multiverse. But turns out what's actually going to do is birth the Anti-Monitor again, and he's going to go around and destroy everything. So this is a bad idea. And Wonder Woman and Dr. Fate are like, stop it, don't do this. And as they're running, what happens is Conjure is taken over by this brain, the Anti-Monitor, and she's turned into like an evil being, and that's pretty much Lady Blackhawk. So she's evil now. She's not good anymore. And as Dr. Fate's about to fight her, Dr. Fate is blasted by an unknown being, and that's actually Black Adam. Guys, Black Adam shocks him with lightning, and at first I thought it was Shazam, but it was pretty cool to see Black Adam in this. And Black Adam has pretty much teamed up with Barbados in a way. He's like, if I team up with Barbados, Barbados will take over my land, Cagdad, which I hope I pronounced that right. But pretty much Black Adam in DC Universe cares about his place and his place only. Like, yeah, he'll help out around the world, but if it comes to just that last spot, the last chance, and he's like, all I can do is protect my home place, then I'm just gonna do that and screw everyone else. That's pretty much what happens here. He teamed up with Barbados, and he's trying to prevent Wonder Woman and Dr. Fate from carrying out their plan and getting the Nith Meld to beat Barbados. Now, from here, Wonder Woman's like, she's gonna fight out Black Adam, and that'll go into the next issue. So it's gonna be an epic fight, guys. Now we ship back to the World Forge. We see Superman and Batman. They go there and they're checking it out, and we see that the place is pretty much in a way destroyed. Like, Barbados has already got there. There's no Nith Meld around, so in a way, all hope is lost. And Superman and Batman are kind of like, crap, what are we gonna do? And they look over their shoulder, and we actually turns out the World Forger, he's still alive, but it's Hawkman. So he's all powerful, he's huge, he has this whole new look, and he can create worlds now. So he's super powerful, but in a way, he's evil too, so he has a different sense of mind, and he's trying to choose between being on Barbados' side or the hero side. So it all comes down to Hawkman, guys. Like, Batman's at the center of this story, and Hawkman. So they're like the two main characters, and Batman's in a way already served his purpose, like his big purpose in the storyline. So seeing it come back to Hawkman is really cool, and it went from Hawkman, going to the Dark Multiverse, never being seen again, to him becoming this big being, like this all-powerful being that can create worlds. Like, that's legit. But guys, that's where we pretty much cap off the issue, going into Dark Knight's Mail number 5. Now, the issue I'll explain next is Hawkman Found number 1, which I'll explain what Hawkman has been like feeling, what nightmares, what dreams he's been going through as he's been stuck in the Dark Multiverse. It's kind of similar to the whole Batman Lost issue, but after that we'll come back to this story, Dark Knight's Mail number 5, and we're pretty much coming to the home stretch, the end of the story, and it's all coming together. So guys, with the explain part of this video over, let's get to my review on Dark Knight's Mail number 4. So guys, this issue was dope. Like, it was really cool. Like, seeing Batman and Superman teaming up, and even that really nice scene where Superman's like, think of all the hope you inspire, all the stunts. Like, you always hear people say that to Superman, not Batman. Seeing Batman smile, that was just awesome. And then seeing Black Adam come to play, we see Lady Blackhawk, like our Hawk Girl, turn evil, and the whole like twist that she had, the brain, the Anti-Monitor, and how Scott Snyder like explains stuff through the Dream of the Endless with how Anti-Monitor, the Monitor, and how with like the World Forger, that was just really fascinating and started to bring the story together. It went from being confusing to super cool. And guys, how the issue opened up with Batman and Superman escaping, like the whole adventure is really great. And I like seeing like Aquaman, Deathstroke team up. They have great banter. And then also like Green Lantern and Mr. Terrific showing up on Vanguard Prime and coming in contact with Aminar Sin and Starro. That was cool. Like, that was a twist too, seeing Aminar Sin actually teaming up with Starro and he's taking over at Vanguard Prime. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But what I'm really fascinated about, like what I'm really interested in, is with Hawkman, what happened to him. And we find out about that in Hawkman Found, which I'll explain next, but that's really cool. Like, it really shows, like, Batman Lost was an awesome issue. And it showed, like, some of the best stuff in Batman's history. So with Hawkman Found, it shows the best stuff with Hawkman. So I really like the story and how Scott Snyder brings the best out of all these DC heroes and the best in the DC universe. So again, Greg Apollo kills it. Like, I really didn't explain that. Like, he's awesome. The whole scene at the World Forge with like FCO Placenta on the colors and Greg Apollo drawing like the worlds and Hawkman, that all-powerful new being as like the World Forger. It just looked awesome. Like, he conveys Scott Snyder's story so well. Like, this is some crazy stuff, but no other artist can pull it off like Greg Apollo. I'm overall going to give this issue a 9.5 out of 10. It's one of the best issues of the entire series. It's great, and now we're starting to get to like the end of the story, and I'm really excited, guys. It's getting really good, and we're about to find out how Barbados is going to be beat, how it pretty much leaves an impact on the whole DC universe as a whole. So guys, that's the review and explanation of Dark Knight's Metal number 4, so let's get to Hawkman Found number 1. Now guys, they have explained and reviewed Hawkman Found number 1. Now this is pretty much like an interlude issue in this Dark Knight's Metal saga. It's kind of filler. It's very similar to like the Batman Lost one, where we find out where Hawkman's been this whole time. Because what happened was Hawkman, way back in the past, he was trying to figure out about his life, because he was killed by Nithmel and he kept coming back. Every time somebody would kill him, he'd pretty much be reincarnated, and he wanted to figure this out. And over this whole series, we're trying to figure out what Nithmel is and how it like kind of fills in the gaps of the universe. Now, he's been going on this quest with Hawkgirl, and he was writing a journal about he's going to different people. He assembled a group of people, and he actually found the Wizard of Shazam. Now, the Wizard of Shazam gave him this dagger Shazam. He used it to open up the darkness. He saw through it, and they eventually fought Barbados, and then he kind of separated from Hawkgirl. Now, he fought Barbados in the past. He actually beat Barbados. And then Barbados planned out something different and used Batman as a vessel. But that was a whole separate story in Batman Lost. But here what we're seeing is when Hawkman finally figured out a way to make it to the Dark Multiverse, he went on his own. He went through like a portal and it was never seen again. And now what happened, we found out in Dark Knight's Metal number 4, when Superman and Batman traveled to the World Forge to pretty much meet this person. And what this person does is create worlds, find stable worlds, and pretty much sends the unstable ones to the Dark Multiverse. Well, that was originally it was pretty much just to destroy these unstable worlds, but Barbados used these unstable worlds and built a whole Dark Multiverse out of it. But here we actually found out that Hawkman is the new World Forger, and he's stuck here. He can't get out. Barbados has trapped him, and he's stuck in like this mindset somewhere else. And in this issue, we find out what he's been going through. We find out where he's been and the nightmares and dreams he's been going through, similar to Batman Lost's issue, where we find out where Batman's been in Dark Multiverse, what nightmares he's been going through, and how he's going to figure out a way to get out. So that's pretty much what this issue is, where Hawkman's been and what he's been doing. So guys, first off, we got this dope cover. Look at that. We got pretty much Hawkman down. He's like in this cool pose, and then above him is pretty much his new form with the big World Forger axe. And guys, look at that. Like, look at his new look. He's like all powerful. Like, it's crazy. But we open up the issue and we see Hawkman flying. And he says he's like dreaming. He dreams of being a hero. He's fighting off for the greater good. And he's actually succeeding. He's flying. He's going to make it to freedom. And if he makes it to freedom, he pretty much wakes up and he can actually fight off Barbados and pretty much win the day. Like, he can save the DC Universe, do a lot of good stuff. But as he's flying, he then actually wakes up as he's falling to the ground. He crash lands, and then we find out what he's been doing. Because what happened was he was dreaming as was flying, but then once he woke up, now he's stuck at the bottom of this mountain. And we see him, he's pretty much having a fire, he's growing a beard, he's trying to find out a way to get up there. And we see all these people in captive, and he's one of them. So pretty much all these people, initially, this is what I thought, are in captive in the Dark Multiverse just like him, or stuck in the World Forge. And he's trying to figure out a way to free them all and free himself. So what happens, we see this like Hawkman, and we see like multitude of them. We see them all show up, and each day take one of these people down with Kara Hall, and they just take them somewhere else that we don't know. So they're gone, and Hawkman Carter is like, I need to find a way to get up there and beat these Hawkmen and pretty much go to freedom. So he pretty much goes against one of these Hawkmen, he dismantles them, he beats them up, and then he can't fly up there. Each time he tries to fly up there, he doesn't make it. He keeps crashing down. So what he decides to do is he pretty much sees these Hawkmen fly up to his ship. So he's like, I gotta get up there. So he starts just climbing this mountain. This guy is just climbing this huge mountain, keeps going. He's like, I'm gonna make it, I'm gonna make it. He's like, this time I failed in the past, but I'm gonna pretty much conquer my fear, conquer my failures, and make it to the top. So he gets there, and then eventually he actually gets to the ship, and he jumps off the mountain, makes it on the ship, and he gets in there, and he's pretty much like, okay, I made it, I can't fail now, I made it this far. And he sees actually his armor, and he actually suits up as Hawkman. But before he can get his fully suited up, he gets his mace. And yes, as we remember, his mace is made out of nitmel. Same with like Deathstroke's armor. Deathstroke's armor is actually made out of promethium. So different like metals throughout the DC universe have actually been in heroes' armor and different DC characters like armor they use. And we haven't seen that this whole time. But finally, this story is explaining that. So right here, we see him with his mace. We see him with like his wings finally. But then he's attacked by the Chief Hawkman on the ship. And guys, this Chief, he's pretty evil. Like, he just starts attacking Hawkman, and he's saying, oh, I'm gonna go after Conjure, I'm gonna go after everyone you love. Similar to what Barbados said Batman Lost #1. Now he's saying this, and Hawkman pretty much acts like Hawkman. He beats up this guy, beats him down, and he actually wins. And as he's about to, like, he explains to him, I'm Hawkman, I fought many wars. Like, he's actually fought against Aminar Sin, different beings who have went against like Thanagar Prime. Now, if we remember, Thanagar Prime is where Hawkman and Harker are from, and they pretty much led like a whole army of Hawkmen. And every time this like planet was in danger from like Aminar Sin and all these villains, he would fight them off and he would win. So he's explaining that I was never being, I'm never going to be being. And what we remember though is in the last issue we saw Aminar Sin, and he's actually taking over Thanagar Prime. So that's actually a spot that Hawkman lost. But here we see him beat up this Chief. That Chief is beating. He beats up all these different Hawkmen, and he gets through. And finally, he takes his wings. He goes up and he flies up in the sky, and he's feeling freedom. He's like, I'm gonna reach it. All these people are gonna be free. I can finally do what I've been wanting to do, and pretty much save and figure out what this nitmel is and come to a conclusion. And guys, it's been a long time. He's been going after this for thousands of years, and he's like, finally, I'll get there. But as he's flying, he finally remembers the nightmare, and he starts crashing down to Earth, and he's like, no, I was so close to freedom. And he reaches the ground, and then we pretty much shift to the World Forge, and we see him as like this all-powerful being right here, and pretty much he's stuck. He keeps going to the same time loop of flying up to free him, trying to free everyone. And honestly, I think these people that he's captive with and they're taken with the Hawkmen, those are actually not other people trapped with them. That was just like a mind game that Barbados is playing with them. So he's pretty much stuck in like this mind loop of, oh, I'm gonna get free, oh, nightmare, I crashed down, I'm gonna get free, crash down, back and forth for thousands of years, and he needs someone else to pretty much free him. And that's where pretty much Hawkgirl, Wonder Woman will come into play as we go on with this series in this big Dark Knight's Mail saga. But that's how the issue ends, and it says continue in Dark Knight's Mail #5, and that's where Hawkman's been, guys. It's not a lost story. Like, there's a lot more story in Batman Lost because they had like a tribute to his history with like the chemical incident and what was going on. And we saw like that rivalry between Barbados and Batman, where here all it's showing is Hawkman's stuff. He's just in this time loop. He can't get out and he needs help. That's all it is, and he's controlled by Barbados as the World Forger, and he's stuck. Like, we need the World Forger, Hawkman, to beat Barbados. We need him to build, like, nitmel, and that's the only thing to beat Barbados. If he's stuck here, if he can't free himself, then the DC Universe is lost. So that's what this issue's about. It's pretty good, and with the explained part of this issue down, let's get to my review on Hawkman Found #1. Now guys, this issue was pretty solid. I actually really liked it, because I thought I wouldn't, because Hawkman, he's not one of my favorite characters. He's a good character, but he's nowhere near like Superman, Batman, and I feel like people usually like forget about him, and I actually do too. But here it actually really, it makes me like his character. Like, yeah, he's trying to strive to get freedom, he's trying to release himself, and he's fighting for the greater good. It's actually pretty cool, and his costume's just dope. Like, Hawkman looks cool. And guys, Brian Hitch kills in this issue with his art. Like, Brian Hitch's art, I'm not usually a fan of. Like, yeah, I know he do amazing art. He's done amazing art at Marvel and DC at times. But at this time when this issue came out, for years his artwork was kind of lazy. Like in the Justice League Rebirth comic, like the intro of that, his art did not look that good. Like it actually looked kind of sloppy. I didn't like it, and I was like, okay, it pretty much shows that his good days where he was doing great art is over. Like he had his heyday. But here it shows that he still got it. He still has great art, and he can still pretty much deliver like the art that we're used to. That's like, okay, Dark Knight's Metal needs like this epic and amazing art, and Brian Hitch does it. And yes, it fits with the story very well. It's very solemn. It's very like he's going to freedom. And that one page where Hawkman's pretty much descending, he thinks he's finally going to fly up to freedom, is drawn so well. Like guys, look at that right there. It just looks so amazing. And Brian Hitch conveys it so well. And guys, Jeff Lemire, it's a perfect like writer for Brian Hitch. Like he writes it so well, he structures it well, and how it comes together by the end with like the time loop is very well done. Like Jeff Lemire does some great comics with Green Arrow, Joe Grease, done a lot of great stuff, and here he does it again with this standalone issue. And I kind of wish he did more stories like interlude issues for Dark Knight's Metal, but this issue alone is worth it. So guys, this is a great issue. It's not one to be skipped. Like yeah, you could skip and just say, okay, Hawkman's the World Forger, he's been stuck somewhere, he can't get free, he needs help. That's pretty much it. But reading it shows like Hawkman's mindset and how he's feeling and where he's been this entire time. It's actually pretty interesting, guys. I like it, and the same with Batman Lost #1. Yes, you could skip it, but it's worth reading, and it's really great writing and really great art. So yeah, guys, I'm overall gonna give this issue an 8.5 out of 10. Definitely recommend it. It's a great issue. And yeah, guys, with the explaining and review out of this issue, let's get to Dark Knight's Metal #5. So guys, heading into issue #5, we got this dope cover of the Batman Who Laughs. And guys, I know it's shining, like with the green screen stuff. When I try to like key it out, it's really hard because how shiny this cover is. But it's really dope and it's cool. And we open up and we see Barbados in Gotham City, and he's on top of this tower. He looks really cool. And we see Batman Who Laughs comes over. And he's like, it's time that we finally like do the well, have our dark army ascend upon this universe. And Barbados is like, but Superman is not the battery anymore. You screwed up on that. The heroes are going after the stuff. And Batman's like, don't worry, Barbados, I have a plan. Just wail and have your dark army come, and when they eventually like reach here, it'll be open for them. And that's where we open up, and we then see this cool double page splash page that instead of red now, it spells out metal and shows Scott Snyder wrote the book, and it's drawn by Greg Capullo, but it's made in purple, and guys, it looks really cool. Like, I like red, but purple, that's a cool color, guys. It really stands out. So, we then jump into pretty much the Forge of Worlds, and we see Hawkman going to attack Bruce and Superman. And Hawkman's like, all roads lead to darkness. He's corrupted. And Batman Superman's like, hey, let's just retreat, form a new plan, because this is not working. But Batman's like, no, Hawkman's not lost. We need his help, and we can do this. And Batman tries to convince him, like, hey, Carter, I know you're still there. I was pretty much convinced that there's no hope left. Where Batman was like lost in the dark multiverse, he was convinced there's no hope left and he couldn't do anything about it. But last issue, Superman's like, hey, let's go do it. And he actually convinced Batman. Batman has like this new like light of hope in him, and he tries to convince that to Hawkman. And guys, that doesn't work. They keep like jumping to different stuff, and they're like attacked at different points. Then we see like this evil Two-Face, evil Penguin, and evil Killer Croc. But Bruce is like, no, I'm not buying into that. I'm not buying into the darkness. We have to stop this. And Superman's like, what are we gonna do about this? We can't do anything. And Bruce is like, there's still nymph metal here. And then he looks down, and in the lava, or like the brightness and stuff, he sees like, hey, there's maybe some still in there. Like, if we go get it, then we can save everyone and actually convince Hawkman. And then what Bruce does, he jumps into the lava. We're like, what? Why is Bruce jumping into that? But guys, we then shift to Deathstroke and Aquaman in Atlantis, and we pretty much see that they're still trying to get nymph metal, and Aquaman's like, well, what happened was Arion, who was an old king of Atlantis, he struck a deal with Barbados. So Barbados took over way back before Hawkman killed him. Well, not killed him, like banished him back to the Dark Multiverse. What happened was King Arion was like, oh, I don't want Atlantis pretty much sinking and getting destroyed, so all struck a deal, but later on, I owe Barbados something. So Aquaman's like, we owe them something, and we have to look out for stuff. And Dash is like, I get that, but we need to find this nymph melt immediately, because we're running out of time. Now what we see is Green Lantern in the cell at Vanguard Prime, and he can't get out of there with his Green Lantern ring. You can think like, hey, can't he just build constructs and get out of the thing? No, he can't, because Starro, Aminar Sans teamed up for Starro, and Starro's pretty much controlling Hal Jordan. Like, not totally, Hal Jordan controls himself, but he can't think enough, and he can't like concentrate enough to make like a new construct and get out, because Starro is pretty much preventing him from doing that. And Mr. Terrific takes his time to say, hey, we gotta save Plastic Man. Green Lantern's like, we came here for Nithmel. Why do we care about this guy, Plastic Man? Like, what's so great about him? And Mr. Terrific tells him, hey, he's one of my best friends. He's very powerful. What happened was he was pretty much a thief, and he was trying to struck some deals with people, and fell into chemicals and became all plastic, so he could go into different things. And at the time it ruined his life, but then he became a hero with us, and he helped me out. This is Mr. Terrific talking. Helped me out, helped all these heroes, Superman, and he became one of the best friends I've had. So that's really cool. Like, Plastic Man hasn't been here for a while. Like, at this time in the comics, Dark Knight's Metal came out, Plastic Man wasn't in DC Comics for like a couple years, even maybe more. So it was cool seeing him back, and next issue, in the conclusion, he gets a really awesome scene. But here Green Lantern's like, okay, we could go save, maybe, but we have to get out of here first. And that's when this other Hawkman guy comes over. He's like, oh, I'll help you out. Green Lantern's like, who are you? And that's when it turns out it's Martian Manhunter. Guys, Martian Manhunter's back. So not only is Plastic Man coming back, Martian Manhunter's back. And Martian Manhunter has like a big role in Scott Snyder's Justice League, and No Justice against like Lex Luthor and stuff. He has a big role in Death Metal too, coming up. So that's really cool. But here he's like, okay, we're gonna take this out. I've been on Vanguard Prime just trying to search for this Nithmel, search for this whole crisis, and figure it out. And we find out more about what he was searching for, like in terms of like Perpetua and the whole beginning of the universe and Scott Snyder's Justice League. But here we just know he's searching for something. And he tells Green Lantern, alright, let's get out here because we have to stop Barbados first. And Green Lantern's like, finally, I'm going to beat Starro. I'm going to beat him up for trying to prevent me from using my Green Lantern ring. Mr. River's like, alright, go for it. And that's when we shift back to Wonder Woman fight out Black Adam. And Wonder Woman's like, why would you do this? Why would you go with Barbados and shift ties? You're pretty much sinking our universe into darkness. And Black Adam's like, no. If everything else is destroyed, but my civilization is still there because of me, I'm gonna feel proud. So at least I saved my home land instead of just giving up. And one was like, no, you are giving up. You're giving in and just protecting your land instead of like keep going and protect the whole world. Then Wonder Woman says, Conjure, help me out. And Blade Blackhawk's like, nah. All roads lead to darkness. Like, she's corrupted now, just like Hawkman. And Woman's like, oh, I have to find the mace. And Black Adam's like, there's no mace here. You're not gonna win. And then we shift back to Hawkman, and he's like pretty much hitting through the rocks at the Forge of Worlds. And Batman and Superman just jump into different places. Bruce is old at this point because he's stuck in the dark multiverse for 30 years. And he's like, I can't really go anymore. We have to convince them. And Superman's like, we have to get out of here, Bruce. Like, I know you're trying this. You're trying to save Hawkman and see it recruit him to our side, but it's not working. And Bruce says, like, Hawkman, I know that you've been lost to the dark, but I could bring you back. And Hawkman's like, no, all roads lead to darkness. And Bruce is like, he's kind of laughing. He's like, no, they don't. And he coughs. So we don't know what's happening to Bruce and Superman. We don't know what they're gonna do. Like, they're helpless right now, and they're trying to like seize that last opportunity to turn Hawkman back to the light. So then we shift, and we see like a bunch of captions of Bruce talking about Hawkman, how he was like a searcher, he's looking for Nithmel, he's one of the greatest heroes he ever known. But we see Wonder Woman, and she sees the mace of Hawkman finally, because she got hit through like a wall by Black Adam. She goes to grab it, and that's when Black Adam shows up. He's like, no, you're not good. You think that'll hurt me? You think that's gonna save the whole universe, this mace? And Wonder Woman's like, well, you're pretty much electrocuting me right now and causing friction. And guess what? And she hits him with the mace right across the head. It's like Shazam. And he's knocked out. Like, this doesn't kill him, but it knocks him out. It's a pretty awesome image. And we see Wonder Woman's like, she's like, hey, I can get used to this. And that's when she's shot in the back by the Battle Blast by 8 metal bullets. Yeah, 8 metal bullets. And he's like, ha, you just fell into a trap. All these heroes, so pretty much what has happened is all these heroes are going after these different Nithmels, and they're leading the villains, pretty much the Dark Knights, to them, because the dark evil Batman can't go after these Nithmels because they're too dangerous. So why not just have the heroes go after them, and when they finally find them, these evil Batman can go after them, defeat the heroes, destroy these Nithmel, and finally conquer this universe. So all these heroes, instead of actually saving the universe and taking a step forward, have actually taken a step back and led into Barbatos' plan, or more importantly, pretty much Batman Who Laughs' plan, because he's more like the mastermind. Like, Barbatos is evil and he's really powerful, but Batman Who Laughs is like the mastermind, and he's the one calculating this all, because he's Batman and Joker combined. But we see him laughing, one was like, no, I'm not gonna stop, I can't do this, and Batman laughs like, I've been to many Earths and seen Earths where me and you are married, where you're still not stopping, you're always saving the world, and this time you're gonna keep fighting till the end. One woman always fights to the end, like that's a big part of her character, and Batman Who Laughs explains this here, that even in the darkest times, one woman always pushes through and keeps fighting, and the Batman Who Laughs is like, this time it's not gonna work. You're gonna keep fighting to the very end and you're gonna die. And that's where we shift back to Atlantis, and Aquaman and Deathstroke are like, hey, finally, the Nithmel is coming out, they're about to take it, but that's when Deathstroke's pretty much hit by a spear, Aquaman too, and Black Manta comes out of the shadows, and he's like, ha, even I know more about Atlantis than you, Aquaman. Aquaman's like, why would you do this? The whole universe is sinking into darkness, and you side with Barbatos? And Black Man's like, Barbatos gave me a deal. If I help him out, then when all this is done and the dark multiverse is taking over, I get endless oceans and I get to enslave your people. I can be like a ruler that I've always wanted. Because pretty much Black Man wants to kill Arthur Curry, Aquaman, and take over Atlantis and pretty much enslave people and pretty much have them do his bidding. So this is perfect for him. But out of the shadows, he's like, hey, I led you guys to him, and it comes Red Death, pretty much the evil Flash version of Batman, pretty much the evil Cyborg version of Batman, then we also have the evil Aquaman version of Batman. So 3 evil Batman going against Aquaman and Deathstroke, so pretty good stuff. And then we shift back to Mr. Terrific, Green Lantern, and Martian Manhunter, who's like a beast right now. He's like a big beast on Vanguard Prime, and they're beating up Starro. They beat him. They beat all the Hawkmen. They come up to Aminar Sin, and they're like, Aminar Sin, we're gonna use your can. Are you cool with that? Aminar Sin's like, no, I'm not gonna have you do that. And it's like, I just beat all your Hawkmen, beat Starro. So do you really want to go against us? And Aminar Sin's like, sure, go ahead. Do what you want. So Aminar Sin's kind of angry about this. He's like, what the heck? I had them in prison, and this guy, Martian Manhunter, who's pretty much as powerful as Superman, almost as powerful, just showed up and ruined everything. And they go outside and they see the cannon. In last edition, we saw the cannon that would pretty much shoot the Earth if the dark multiverse got out of control. And what it does is it lights up the Earth. So it lights up our world, and it brings the DC Universe up from the darkness. So what's happening right now is the world is like sinking into darkness, but because it's all dark. But if it lights up and Nithmel is pretty much engaged, then it'll bring up the dark evil Batman, and evil like Superman's will go away, and they can finally beat Barbatos. So this is a good plan. But turns out it's going with Batman Who Laughs' plan, because the evil Batman, who's like a Doomsday version, the evil Wonder Woman and Green Lantern versions of Batman come out of the shadows and like, ha, you led into our plan again. And we find out, as Batman Who Laughs explained to Wonder Woman, this cannon's gonna shoot, it's gonna connect to all these Nithmels, it's gonna destroy them, and now the heroes have no hope. They can't do anything about Barbatos taking over their world. And then we see Batman Who Laughs pretty much goes away. Like, there's a lightning shock and he's gone. And Wonder Woman's like, no, this can't be it, I can't lose. And we see Batman and Superman in the World Forge, and as this thing, like this cannon is shooting around the universe, the World Forge is like sinking up and it's getting destroyed. And Batman and Superman are getting like engulfed with this light, or pretty much how I describe it's lava, but it's not because they're not like dying, but still they're getting engulfed with this, and they're almost about to die. Like, they're almost about to be gone. And we see Wonder Woman go and fight Contra Saunders, Hawkgirl, who's now Lady Blackhawk, and she hits her with the lasso of truth. And she's like, remember yourself. And actually, Hawkgirl remembers who she is. She's like, sorry, Wonder Woman. I'm sorry for turning to the darkness. And Wonder Woman's like, it's fine. Just join me now, and let's go to the dark multiverse and fight off, or actually go to the DC Universe and fight off Barbatos' forces and stop this before Barbatos totally takes over. Now, they jump through a portal, and they find out the DC Universe is actually sunk to its lowest point. Barbados' army is in the DC Universe, and everything's getting taken over. And one was like, great hero, what are we gonna do? Like, this is terrible. Like, you see evil Darkseids, you see evil Flashes, a Wonder Woman, an evil Wonder Woman like a Minotaur head. Like, it's crazy. Greg Capullo draws it so well. And we see like an evil Wonder Woman that's like a cheetah version. It's pretty crazy. And we see back at the World Forge, Batman and Superman slowly sinking to the light. And then as they're talking, their dialogue goes away and they're gone. And then we see Wonder Woman, she tells Conjura as like the Dark Multiverse Force, they're running at like a huge army, running at these two individuals. And one was like, okay, we're probably not gonna win, but we're gonna fight to the very end, as I always do. Like, Wonder Woman's a badass, guys. Like, she's going to the very end. She's like, Conjure, can you do something for me? When we jump and go to fight, we're gonna just yell, so Batman, Who Laughs, and Barbados can hear us scream and hear how determined we are to beat them. Now as they run, she's like, it's a war. They pretty much release like a war cry, and they jump into the forces to fight them. It's a pretty awesome ending, and we see that the World Forge is pretty much destroyed, Batman and Superman gone, so it's all down to Wonder Woman. So yeah, guys, Wonder Woman's like the last hope. We'll go into the conclusion. Pretty crazy, but that pretty much concludes this issue. And next one I'll be explaining is Dark Knight's Rising, the Wild Hunt, with like Detective Chimp and all these heroes preparing for the end of the world as like the Earth is sinking. So that'll be pretty crazy. But then after that, it's all these heroes. Batman, Superman, they're not dead, they're back, they'll come back, don't worry. And Wonder Woman against the final forces of Barbados and the ending to this big saga. So yeah, guys, that's the explained part of this issue down. Let's get to my review of Dark Knight's Metal, number 5. Now guys, this issue was pretty awesome. Wonder Woman was like the best part about it. Just seeing her like fight to the end, fighting out Black Adam, fighting out Conjura, taking on the Batman Who Laughs. That was awesome. And I'm really excited about how she's like what she does in the final issue. It's really great. And guys, Batman Who Laughs is awesome. Like when he showed up in the series at first, I was like, okay, he's a good character, but what's all the hype about? This issue really showed him how calculating he is. Like, yeah, he has a Joker version, he does some gruesome stuff, but he's still Batman. Like, he's still very smart, and he forms all these plans. And then Aquaman, Deathstroke against Black Manta, that was a twist. And then seeing like Green Lantern and Mr. Terrific with Plastic Man, or the Plastic King at Vanguard Prime, that was cool. But then seeing Martian Manhunter show up, that was just so awesome, because Martian Manhunter is one of my favorite DC Comics characters, and to see him just show up again after so many years was such a cool reappearance. And then we also see all this action throughout, like fight scenes, the heroes going against the evil Batman, that was cool. And then also we see Batman and Superman trying to bring Hawkman back to the light, which was really cool. The World Forge looked cool, and the Batman himself was just so great. But the best thing about it all was that, like, Greg Capullo drawn it so well. Like, do I really have to tell you guys, Greg Capullo's been killing it throughout the whole series, and here you see like the World Forge, it looks beautiful. Like the colors by FCO Placenta look so great, and then he just draws the action sequences, the flow of the story, just so well. And guys, that's why this issue is one of the best in the series. It's not better than last issue, because last issue like started explaining everything, and that was really fascinating. But this issue is still really great, and that's why I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10. So yeah, guys, it's really, I definitely recommend it. Go check it out. And now we're going into Dark Knight's Rising, the Wild Hunt, which is the last interlude in the saga, and then we get to the final issue, the conclusion to the epic Dark Knight's Metal saga by Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. So yeah, guys, with the explain and the review out of this issue, let's get to Dark Knight's Rising, the Wild Hunt. Yeah, guys, first off, we have this dope cover that pretty much shows all the Dark Knights. We have Batman Last, the Devastator, which is like the Doomsday version, and Batman Last, guys, as you remember, was like a Batman Joker combined. We got Red Death, which is like half Batman and half Flash, which the Batman version is evil. He's wearing Barbados, but the Flash version is actually good, but he's pretty much casted down and he can't come out. But guys, remember that. Like, that's coming important in this issue. We have the Merciless, which that's the Wonder Woman version. Then we have the Murder Machine, which is like the evil cyborg version. We have the Aquaman version, which I think that's like the Drowning, that's her name. And then, yeah, that's with the 7 evil Batman. We have the evil Robin. So it's setting up, these are some cool characters. But the only two main that like I really like is Red Death and Battle Blast. Like Battle Blast is legit, and I'll actually probably after I do this whole explaining review of Dark Knight's Metal, do like a video just explain Battle Blast's character, because he's gonna be important in Death Metal, so you should know that stuff. And then also Red Death, like he's not gonna be important, like something happens to him in this issue that's pretty big, but he's still a great character. I really like him compared to all the other ones, because like the Aquaman version, I don't care for her. The Doomsday version, he's cool, but I kind of forget about him after this whole series. And then the other ones, I forget about them too, where Red Death just sticks with me, he's just legit. But guys, diving into this issue, we start off with like Bobo, which is Detective Jim, and we pretty much see his like origin story again. So, he was pretty much trying to entertain people, he's a dumb ape and stuff. These different men would pretty much pick on, beat him up, and this guy pretty much in a way adopted him, and the guy's name was Fred. So he fed him, took care of him, until Fred was killed by these other people, and Bobo took his hat as like a souvenir. He's like, I need to remember this guy took care of me. And Bobo tried to get out, like these people tried to kill Bobo. He got out, went to the forest, and he was trying to like follow this guy. He didn't know what this guy was, but he was following it. And he was actually saved by a couple DC characters. One of them was Swamp Thing, like he's going through a swamp, right? And you see this alligator go eat Bobo, but Swamp Thing comes out and grabs it and takes it down, which is pretty cool. Not a lot of people talk about this scene, but I still like the whole thing that Swamp Thing and Bobo actually in a way met first, like way back, even before Bobo like knew what he was, like he was just a dumb ape. But right here, you see him go through like the swamp, he makes it through, and he actually meets Rex the Wonder Dog, and this is like the guy. Rex was pretty much leading him to this fountain of youth. And Bobo goes up to his fountain of youth, he receives youth, so now he's like kind of way immortal way, and then he actually receives knowledge. So now he can actually speak to humans. He's actually as smart or even smarter than a regular human, which is pretty crazy. And what he does is he uses his knowledge to pretty much become a detective and pretty much investigate Fred's murder, that guy who took care of him. And he investigates, finds out 3 people who killed this guy, and 2 of them were killed, like they're pretty much hanged, and one of them is arrested, which is good for him. And finding out like these different people and having closure for him was big for Bobo. Like this guy, Fred, took care of him. He found the murderers, put them to justice, and now he could become a detective and go on his merry way. And that's pretty much Bobo's origin. It's pretty cool that they recite this again in the story, because we haven't seen Detective Chip in a while at this point. Like he hasn't showed up in the DC universe in like a couple years, and to see him back is really good. And the reason he hasn't showed up is he's more in line with like the magical characters, like teams up with like Dr. Fate, teams up with like Constantine, and they haven't showed up that much in DC Comics in like years at this point too. But it actually makes sense that after this whole series like ends, Dark Knight's Metal, Bobo joins a group called the Justice League Dark with Wonder Woman, Zatanna. It fits him really perfectly, and that series is great, guys. Like I definitely recommend go read that series, because Bobo in that series is so good, and it was a big thing to see him come back in this issue. But guys, we see like this dope double-page splash page, pretty dope. And we see Barbados, he's screaming, we see the Dark Knights, and we see like George Jimenez is in this, Joshua Williams is writing, and Scott Snyder. But guys, right here we shift, right? And we see actually on Black Hawk Island, which is where Hawkgirl and Contra Saunders was figuring out about Hawkman, like what he was doing, and what Hawkman did. He did like this investigating, find about Nithmel, went to the Dark Multiverse, while Hawkgirl pretty much kept up on the DC universe. Like she kept up with Nithmel, kept up with all the people who were supporting Hawkman's cause. And she's gone, she's with Wonder Woman at the Rock Attorney. Well, what we found out at the end of the 5th issue, she's actually fighting off against the forces of Barbados. And we see Red Tornado, Dr. Morrow, which is the creator of Red Tornado, the Metal Man. We see Bobo here, we see Will Magnus, and we see all of them like butting heads, like trying to figure out what to do about, because they're pretty much like saying the DC universe is like collapsing, everything's going bad, and all science is like being incomprehensible, and it's pretty crazy, like everything's going bad. And Dr. Morrow is like, we need help, we need to figure this out soon, or we're gonna be gone. Like, yeah, evil will consume, it'll be all corruption. Bobo tells them how like Barbados is coming into the DC universe is affecting it physically and affecting people mentally. In terms of Bobo, he's pretty much losing his mind because he's going from all this knowledge to going really primitive again, so he's pretty much losing his knowledge, and eventually he's gonna be a dumb ape again. And that's bad, because they need Bobo smart. It's like Bobo's really important in this cause, and bringing Barbados pretty much down and defeat him. We see Dr. Morrow, and he tells like Bobo, do not release Red Tornado, do not release the Mailman, because they actually way back fought off against they helped Hawkman in the cause against Barbados. They actually stopped Barbados. They were one of the things. That's why Red Tornado was mad at Batman way back in issue number 2. When Batman opened that door and Red Tornado woke up, he's like, oh, you opened the door. He's mad because he stopped this. He helped Hawkman stop Barbados, and now Batman just released it. So would you be mad if you stopped something bad from happening, but then this other person was so curious and they released it again? Like, now you have to go through all that work again. But still, Red Tornado keeps asleep. Dr. Morrow and Will Magnus walk away, and they're talking, and Dr. Morrow is like, hey, Bobo is losing his mind. We need to figure out this soon. He's be dumb, and we need his help. And Will Magnus is like, okay, we're using the Ultimate Thule, which, guys, the Ultimate Thule was actually created in Grant Morrison's run, and what it does is it travels through the bleed. And guys, the bleed, think of it like this. So you have all these universes in the multiverse, right? And the bleed is like that passageway. So you go through the bleed, and on the left and right side, you see all these different universes, and you need the right frequency to get through them. So you can travel to the bleed all you want. You could go through there, hang out there. Like, it's not really good to hang out there because people can attack you, but you need to get to another universe, and the way to do that, you need the right vibrational frequency, which Flash can generate. Because way back in Crisis on Infinite Earths, Flash can actually travel through worlds. That's how he traveled. He would create the right frequency, travel through, get help, and that's what he do. But here, the Ultimate Thule pretty much creates it itself. So the Ultimate Thule creates vibrational energy and can get through different universes, and that's what Flash, Raven, and Cyborg are doing here. So we'll find out what they're doing. They're trying to get help. That's all they're doing. That's their whole job, to find help and bring it back against Barbados. But guys, we see Will Magnus mention that, and then we see Dr. Morrow recruit all of these different scientists, like Dr. Savannah, the villain of Shazam. We see all these different other, old DC villains. They're helping in this cause, and Black Hawk Island is like the last island of all these scientists. All the other scientists in the world are gone. Like, they've been consumed, killed, or something like that. And Dr. Morrow is like, this is our last chance. We have to do this. And Bobo contacts Flash and Raven and Cyborg on the Ultimate Thule, and he's like, okay guys, we figured out where you have to go to get help. Go to the House of Heroes. And guys, the House of Heroes is at the middle of the multiverse, and it's pretty much like another Hall of Justice, but it's bigger, and it has all the good versions of Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, and they go there to meet up. They pretty much hang out there. They pretty much brainstorm and figure out what to do, and that's what Flash and Raven and Cyborg have to get to. If they get there, recruit their help, they'll have all these heroes to fight off Barbados, and they'll be unstoppable. But they have to get there first. And we see Flash and Raven and Cyborg on there. They're trying to contact them. Flash is like, we need your help. The universe is collapsing, you're our last hope, and they're not coming in. Like, we don't know what's going on there, and Cyborg's like, we have to figure this out quick. But at the same time, as the Ultimate Thule is going through the bleed, you see all these different universes. Raven is pretty much riding this Ultimate Thule, she's like guiding it, and Raven's like, we have to keep getting through this because bad stuff is happening, and they're actually getting attacked by the Wild Hunt. And guys, as the title suggests, the Wild Hunt is pretty much these different ships that are like flew by the Dark Knights. So we see Bound Blast, he's flying one with like the evil Green Lantern, Devastator, the Merciless, Red Death. They're all on the ship, and they're sending missiles at the Ultimate Thule. So they're trying to pretty much stop Raven, Flash, and Cyborg to gain to the House of Heroes. And Raven's like, I can't pretty much get, because they're pretty much there. They're at the House of Heroes in a way, but it's to the side of them, and they have to pretty much get the right vibrational frequency to get through, but they can't. Like, Raven can't concentrate because they're getting blasted by missiles, and Flash is like, don't worry, you guys, these Dark Knights are going to go through a portal, making our ship, and they're going to try to stop us. You fight them off, while me, I can actually make that vibrational frequency, and I'll get through. That's what Flash is going to do. And we see Bad Blast, and you see all these different, like, evil Batman, they're, like, chatting it up, they're like, is this the right thing to do? Like, my world has got destroyed, I don't even know if I should side with Bad Blast. Red Death's like, shut up, you don't want Bad Blast here tonight, he'll kill you. And this is pretty much the evil Aquaman version of Batman. She's like, but we haven't really made progress. They're gonna get to the House of Heroes and we're gonna lose, and this will all be for nothing. Like, I just want to destroy the universe. And Batman laughs like, well, that's kind of the idea. He laughs, and then what happens is you see the heroes, they make it to this other universe. They actually don't go to the House of Heroes, they go to the wrong direction. It's like a world where all these DC heroes are like pirates, which is really cool. You see like a Batman that's a pirate, you see a Superman that's a pirate, and they're all fighting off. It's pretty cool. And you see Batman laughs, and all these different evil Batmen jump on board the Ultimate Bull. So now they just pretty much invaded the ship, and Raven goes to hold him off. And the Dawnbreaker, who is like the evil Green Lantern version, and the Aquaman version, the Drowning, they come up to Raven like, okay, let's take you on. We can beat you. And Raven's like, I'm a daughter of a demon, which is Trigon, so I can take you on. She just starts dismantling it. She starts beating them up. And they're surprised. Like, she controls the Dawnbreaker's constructs, and he's like surprised, like, what the heck? And the Drowning's like, get a hold of yourself, we're getting beat. And she's like, what else can you do, little girl? And Raven is just holding him off. She's just buying time for the Flash. While Cyborg fights off against the Merciless, which, well, not the Merciless, the Murder Machine, which is like the evil Cyborg version. And this Batman's like, hey, I killed a Cyborg on my Earth, which we actually found out in his tie-in comic. But Cyborg's like, you won't kill me, I'll beat you. And they actually start winning, right? And we see them getting set through doors, going to different places fighting, while Flash goes to pretty much retrieve this baby universe. And guys, the plan is with this baby universe, it's really small and it pretty much powers the Ultimate Bull, but the plan is to release it and cause pretty much all these universes to go good and side on the hero side. That's pretty much what they're trying to do. But the Merciless is guarding it. He doesn't want Flash to get into it, but Flash is obviously faster. He beats the Merciless and gets to it, but then Red Death shows up, grabs Flash, and Flash is like, ha, too late as always. And the thing explodes. The baby universe explodes, gets on Red Death, and Red Death is now golden. Like, guys, look at that. He's now golden. It looks really dope. Like, this is a cool look, and it's drawn so well. And he's pretty much been turned. So the Batman, the evil Batman version, that half of Red Death has been cast away, and now he's taken over by the good Barry Allen. So he's a good guy now. And Batman laughs like, ha, traitor. And Red Death actually teams up with Flash. They start fighting off the different evil Batman, taking them down, they're winning. So these heroes are having a little bit of hope now. They're like, okay, we're gonna win this. But that's when we pretty much find out this baby universe, when it was released, instead of causing good in the multiverse, is actually causing all these dark baby universes to spread around, and all these universes are becoming evil. So all around the multiverse is coming dark, and the dark multiverse is taking over, which is going with the Bad Bloss's plan. So when the heroes thought they had hope, they actually were doing the wrong thing. And Batman Glass is laughing about this. The Dawnbreaker is actually beating Raven. Cyborg barely saves her. And we see Flash, and he's like, what's going on? We have to stop this. And Batman Glass is like, ha, you led into my trap. It's all led to this. And he says to Red Death, he's like, you know what's going to happen now. You were pretty much that big universe, and it's slowly being consumed by the dark, and it's going to explode. And that's when we see Red Death. He dies. He actually explodes. Like, guys, he explodes big, and he shouts no. We see all the dark, evil Batman. They look at him. They're like, man, sucks to be him. But we also see the Ultimate Bull. It's going through the universe, still looking for the House of Heroes. If they find the House of Heroes, they're good. But if that's actually consumed by the dark, all hope is lost. But guys, we go back to pretty much the Black Hawk Island with Bobo, Dr. Morrow, Will Magnus, and like the other scientists. And we see Bobo actually release Red Tornado. And guys, Dr. Morrow's like, why did you do that? I told you not to do that. And Red Tornado calms down. He starts attacking at first, but he calms down and tells them that that pretty much just happened before. Red Tornado and the Mailman actually went the bleed, just like Flash, Raven, and Cyborg, but they actually stopped the evil Dark Batman. Well, not the evil Dark Batman, but they stopped Barbados. They were successful, where Flash, Raven, and Cyborg are not. So Red Tornado's like, I'm happy, Dr. Morrow, you gave me like pretty much a sleep mode, and he's like, this is a perfect time because everything is going wrong. I do not want to be here when it goes wrong. And Red Tornado pretty much goes to sleep. He goes back asleep, like he's done, and we see Flash back at like the Ultimate Bull. He's like, no, Red Death's gone, we've lost. And Raven's like, okay, well, we're coming upon the House of Heroes. Now as we discover, the House of Heroes has been consumed by the darkness. Guys, the House of Heroes, that last hope, they're all gone, it's destroyed, and we see the evil Batman, they're like, how we did it. Dawnbreaker's like, wait, but there's a 53rd Earth. I thought there's only 52. And he's like, wait, there's not supposed to be a 53rd Earth. And evil Batman's like, don't worry about it. And we see evil, Batman last, and he's holding this one guy strapped up with all these, like, bandages. We don't know who this guy is. And he's like, watch as the multiverse is, like, going into darkness. And we find out who this guy is in the next, in the conclusion in Dark Knight's Metal number 6, which is actually pretty fascinating. But right here, he's making this guy watch pretty much the death of the multiverse. And we see the Bound Blast just laughing. But what he doesn't know, as pretty much the House of Heroes is destroyed, we see Bobo, they're all like, okay, something just went wrong. Pretty much the darkness is sinking even farther into the DC universe, but then Bobo is transported somewhere. And this is what Bound Blast doesn't know. There's actually a 53rd Earth that is not supposed to be there. That's where all the House of Heroes went. So they're all still alive. And we see all these different, like, chip versions. Like, there's a Super Ape, there's like a Superman version that's an ape. We see like an Aquaman version, which is actually pretty funny. It's like a fish ape. And then we see a Batman version of like a chimp. And then we see a Detective Chimp, and he joins their forces, and he sends the Flash side. Well, he says, okay, Bobo, are you ready to save the universe? So they're all ready to team up and fight off Barbados. And we see this final image, Batman Chimp. I'm just going to call him Bat Chimp. He's pretty much investigating. We see in the background Flash, Cyborg, and Raven. They're ready to fight. So we're heading to this conclusion with, yeah, the darkness is taking over. The forces are here. And it's pretty much that final fight between all the heroes and Barbados' forces and himself. So it's going to be a big fight, a big conclusion, and it's going to pretty much change the DC Universe forever. So yeah, guys, that's the end of this issue. It wraps it up. And that was like the interlude. It pretty much explains like the last tidbits to get you ready for that conclusion. But guys, for the explaining part out of this issue, let's get to my review on Dark Knight's Rising, The Wild Hunt. So guys, this issue is pretty dope. I like this. George Smith's art was really awesome. It really conveyed it really well. The whole like concept of the bleed and like the ultimate duel, it's kind of complicated. Like guys, you got a little lost, just request down below and I'll make a video just like separate on the ultimate duel and that whole concept, because it is actually pretty big in Grant Morrison's run. But I think it's pretty fascinating. It's really cool. And I like Flash going against like different different evil Batman, just outplaying them. And seeing Red Death pretty much go reverse, he comes good. He has like this cool costume that's like a golden costume, which is so cool. And I like how he ended. Like, yeah, he died. Like, I like to see more of Red Death, but how he ended was just so great. And then Bound Blast is always such a great character. The other evil Batman, I don't really care about them. Like I said at the beginning of this video, I don't care about them, but they do contribute to like the cool action sequences at least. And then Raven was dope. Like when she started taking down the Dawnbreaker and the Drown, just like, I'm a daughter of a demon. Like that was badass. And then Cyborg, he's cool. And then just seeing Bobo, his origin, and seeing Bobo meet like a separate Earth of all like apes. Like it's like a super ape, a bat ape. It was just so cool. And it was really like a big twist. Like you never thought that, okay, you could think all these heroes are gonna get help from the House of Heroes, like different Supermans, different Wonder Womans, but the help they're actually gonna get is different ape versions of themselves, which is different but also really cool. But guys, this helps us get set up for the final issue and gets me really excited. So I'm overall gonna give this issue an 8.5 out of 10. It was great, and Bound Blast, all the stuff coming together for the final fight, just wrapped it up so well. Like Scott Snyder is such a great writer, and he's kind of like Grant Morrison. Like with all the crazy stuff, the ultimate duel, and the concepts of the universe. It's complicated, but makes sense once you get it. It's actually pretty fascinating. But yeah, guys, we'll explain and review out this issue. Let's get to the final issue of Dark Knight's Metal. So guys, here we are at the final issue of Dark Knight's Metal, and it starts out, and we got this dope cover. We have Batman on like a Joker dragon, which is really cool. We have Wonder Woman and Superman on each side of him. They're pretty much going at Barbados' forces, and it's gonna be a cool issue. So we dive in, and we see pretty much Bound Blast. He has that one guy strapped up. We don't know who this guy is, but we'll find out soon. And he's telling Barbados, he's like pretty much narrating this thing to this guy who's strapped up, and he's like, oh, you never thought it would happen. That the dark multiverse would take over, that the villains would win, the whole multiverse would be swallowed up in darkness. And this guy is pretty much like surprised, like, no, it can't be. And we see Barbados pretty much holding the cosmic tuning fork. He's just watching all the stuff be like engulfed in darkness. So it's not going well. We're seeing Aquaman, Green Lantern, Deathstroke, Mr. Terrific, the Plastic Gang. They're all being held in captivity, and they have no hope. Like, they don't have no motivation. They're just like, whatever, like, we lost. And then we see pretty much these two last people, Wonder Woman and Hawkgirl, or Lady Blackhawk here, and they're fighting off like hundreds of thousands of dark forces, like an evil big dark side, which looks really cool. We see a cheetah version of Wonder Woman that's evil. We see like different evil Supermans, Batmans, and they're just fighting them off. And Lady Blackhawk, or I'll just say Chandra Saunders, she's like, Wonder Woman, we can't keep doing this. Nobody else in the universe is motivated. Nobody wants to win. Barbados is one, we can't do this, and we've been fighting for hours. How else are we gonna do this? And Wonder Woman's like, hey, I'm gonna keep signaling out, and eventually the heroes will come. What she's doing is she's like hitting the mace with her bracelets and hoping like Green Lantern, Aquaman, they'll hear her, and then eventually they'll be like, okay, we gotta fight out, clear a path, and Wonder Woman will get through and they'll beat Barbados. But so far they've had no luck. Like, Wonder Woman's beat up all these people like last issue, she never stops. But there has to be a point where you're gonna die and you're just fighting off forever that you get tired, right? But we see Wonder Woman, and she finally like, I can't do it anymore. Like, she's actually starting to give up a little bit. Like, she's like, I can't contact them, and she's following all the villains that surround her. Like a Minotaur version of Wonder Woman is like right next to her, and they're about to take her down. But then Conjure's like, just hits the mace and the bracelet one more time, and they'll hear. And Wonder Woman does that, and that's the Aquaman, Green Lantern, Deathstroke, and Mr. Terrific all hear her, and like, we gotta clear a path. So the plan worked. And we see him taking down the evil Batman, like Devastator, the evil Aquaman version of Batman. And we see Mr. Terrific, he's like, hey, Plastic Man. So Plastic Man's like stuck in this egg, and he won't wake up. And Mr. Terrific's like, hey, this is the best time to wake up. We need you now. We're like running low. We can't fight off against all these forces. He's like, turn into a dinosaur. Turn into like a bulldozer, a damn shark, anything. And Plastic Man just says all the above, and he just comes out and starts like beating the crap out of people, like killing different evil people, and it's a pretty cool image. Like that. Look at that. That looks cool. And we see Plastic Man holding off this big dark side, and Wonder Woman and Chandra Saunders goes through like the dark multiverse. So they go into it, and as they're going through, Lady Blackhawk or Chandra, she's telling Wonder Woman, hey, I'm sorry for doubting you. Pretty much you're the only one who stuck through this the whole time. Superman and Batman gave up hope. I gave up hope. Hawkman gave up hope. But you're the only one. Wonder Woman's like, no, it's all of us. We have to stick together. And Wonder Woman then has the last of the truth, and she dives into the dark multiverse. And Contra holds this in case she gets lost. But Wonder Woman goes in there, and she's like, for family, for the Justice League, for everyone. She's just chanting this. And she sees Hawkman. And he's the World Fortune, right? And like he's been going through that loop. He's been going through the loop trying to reach freedom, but right now he's evil and under like the control of Barbados. And he's like, all roads lead to darkness. He's just repeating this. And he goes to attack Wonder Woman, but as he goes attacks, then comes Contra. And Contra's like, Carter, stop. And Contra's like, it's me. And Hawkman's like, my God, she's actually alive. Like, seeing them reunite, Hawkman and Hawkgirl, it's big. But Barbados is like, no, that can't happen. So that's the only way that Hawkman will come back to the light. And we see Barbados is like, no, that's not. One was like, we can do this, and Barbados is like, no, Hawkman's lost. You guys won't win. He's pretty much like taunting them. But out of a big portal comes pretty much Cyborg, Raven, Flash, and all these different Batmans from the multiverse. In like the Ultima Thule, which is like the thing that traveled through the bleed, traveled through universes, and they pretty much recruited these people from Earth 53. And guys, what happened in like the interlude issue, Dark Knight's Rise and the Wild Hunt, all these universes were consumed with darkness, so they couldn't recruit them. But there's this extra Earth that Barbados and Batman Last didn't know about, and we see a Batman with a classic costume. We see Red Sun Batman, which is so cool, a Dracula Batman. Like, it's pretty dope, and Scott Snyder knows how to do crazy stuff. But then what we see is Hawkman's down there, and he's talking to Contra. Wonder Woman's like, I'm gonna dive into the Forge, because this is the Forge, guys. And one was like, I'm gonna dive into the Forge and save Superman and Batman. You hold him off. She dives in, Contra's like, I can't do that. And then she's like, ah, crap, okay, I'll go for it. So she starts talking to Hawkman. She tells him, I am Contra Saunders, and you are a Carter Hall. proud leaders of the bird tribe. She just starts chained out, telling him that, so he remembers who he is. And she's then blasted like a Joker dragon, and we see like this weird type of light mixture at the bottom, which we'll see soon, and that's actually another form of metal. It's bigger than Nipmouth, so it's coming soon, guys. But what we see next, we see Aquaman getting stabbed, Green Lantern getting taken up. They're all losing again. So they're all losing hope once again, and Barbados is like, all hope is lost, all roads lead to darkness, you guys are losing, no fool would come and fight me. And then, out of pretty much the War Forest, that light mixture, that new metal, comes Wonder Woman, Superman, and Batman. And they're shining in this new thing called 10th metal. And guys, this is pretty much like creation. So 8th metal was like the thing that the gods used, so like myth gods, like Zeus, they used like the 8th metal. It was very powerful. But then the 9th metal can actually, like, it made the dark multiverse grow. It like grew darkness, but it could also be used to kill it too. So it's like a double-edged sword. But then the 10th metal, you can pretty much create reality. You can do anything with it. It's from the Forge, and that's what the War of Fortune uses to create 9th metal. So it's a crazy thing that Batman, Wonder Woman, and Superman have, and they're pretty much like unstoppable. And Kandra is like in surprise. She's like, holy crap. And then we see Batman and Superman do it, contacting the Justice League, Flash, Green Lantern, like, oh, thank God, we were losing, we need you guys. And we see the Ultimate Goal get like pretty much destroyed in a way, like it gets attacked, but Flash, Cyborg, and Raven are alright, they're just a little hurt. And we see Barbados like, go kill Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. He releases all his forces at them. And we see Joker dragons going out, and Superman and Wonder Woman fight him off, but one one's like, hey Batman, do you need a lift because he can't fly? He's like, I got it. He punches a Joker dragon right in the face, gets on top, and just starts flying, guys. And we see Aquaman and Green Lantern, they're fighting off, they're beating up like a different evil Batman. They're like, we're glad you're back, Batman. And then we see pretty much Batman's explaining like creation. Well, I talked about like the 8th metal, 9th metal, and 10th metal, and how you can create anything. And you know what Batman decides to create? He creates batarangs. Like, he has this cool ass image that shows him throwing like these batarangs that are just like pure light. Like, guys, look at that. Like, that looks really cool. And it's one of my favorite images in the entire series. Like, it's probably one of my favorite images in this book. Like, it's really cool because just how FCO Placenta like colors it and Greg Capullo draws it looks so dope. And yeah, see Aquaman, Green Lantern, they're fighting off, and they get injected with this 10th metal. So now the whole core Justice League are like powerful. And we see him fighting off, taking down the evil Batman. And Barbados like, no, this can't happen. Like, he's losing now. And we see Dr. Fate, he goes to different parts of like this area, saves Starfire, saves Beast, because all they were converted to like the darkness, but now they're coming back because they're winning. We see Green Arrow save Steel. We see like Harley, Damian, Nightwing, and Killer Croc. They're like, yes, finally. And Nightwing's like, man, I knew Batman would come back, but in like shiny metal, like, come on. And we see Dr. Fate like, it's time to break the circuit. It's time to win. And we see Barbados, like, he's starting to screech. He's getting mad. He's like, no. And if he's screeching, that means more dark forces, more power will come. So he knows that'll help him out. But Hawkman finally gets up. He's like, no, it'll not happen. He's explaining this in his journal. He's like, when it comes to the point that the heroes are away and we're turning the tide, I will come back and destroy Barbados. And that's what he does. He gets his mace and hits it, like his huge mace, hits it right across Barbados. And pretty much they're in like a big fight. Barbados is like, traitor, I'm gonna kill you. Hawkman's like, I'll go for it. And they actually fought before, like thousands of years ago. So this is their second time. It's pretty dope, guys. And then we see this is like the final plan. And because Barbados like reaches out to Bound Laughs while he's fighting Hawkman's like, enact the final plan, finish the job. We see the Bound Laughs, he's talking to this unknown person again. We find out it's the Monitor. Guys, the Monitor was way back in Crisis on Infinite Earths, and it shows he's been around since, and he was just getting over Final Crisis. So now he's in another crisis, and the Monitor's huge. Like, when he shows up in a storyline, you know some big stuff's about to happen. You see like the evil Robins around him. Bound Laughs explains, he's like, I have the power of you, the Monitor, and the brain of the Anti-Monitor, and the power of myself, and it's all going to cancel out all these energies and pretty much collapse the multiverse, and it'll destroy it. And all that'll be left is darkness. So the anti-matter universe, the positive matter universe will be gone. It'll just be darkness and dark worlds, and pretty much like a dark multiverse. So pretty much Bound Laughs is carrying out his plan way again. So really, the main villain of the story isn't really Barbados. Like, yeah, you can say it's Barbados, but I really think it's Batman Glass because he's carrying out all the plans, he's the mastermind, he enacts the final plan, he's doing all this stuff. But Barbados is just that powerful dragon, really. And he talks big talk, but it's really Batman Glass who's carrying out his plans. But we see him doing this, and he's about to pretty much put these forces and destroy the multiverse, but Batman shows up. He's like, you call this a cave? And he comes over, and he's like, I'll fight you off. And Batman's Glass is like, try me. And then we see Batman just like go through the evil Robin, beat them up, and we see this brutal fight between Batman and the Batman Glass. Like, they're fighting each other hard, like beat the crap out of each other. Then Batman Glass explains that, hey, you always hold back, you don't kill, you don't do that, and that's what makes you less than me. And Batman Glass stabs through Batman. Batman's on the ground, and Batman Glass like he has the gun that killed their parents. And he has the gun that killed Martha and Thomas Wayne, which is really crazy. And he's taunting Batman. And he puts the gun to Batman's head, and Batman's like, just fire the damn gun. And Batman Glass is like, okay, it's good that you finally see it. Batman's like, I wasn't talking to you, I was talking to him. And then we see, guys, the biggest part, like probably the best scene in this entire series. Guys, it's, oh my gosh, it's awesome. Joker shows up, and he's like, he just teams up with Batman. Like, this is crazy. Batman Glass thought, oh, it's gonna be a three-way fight, right? No, it's Batman Joker versus the Batman Glass. So pretty much Batman Joker versus Batman Joker. That's what it is. But this Batman Glass, he doesn't have the mind of Joker. Yes, he's been induced with the toxin, but he's more just Bruce Wayne, super smart, but insane. So he doesn't have like that same unpredictability like Joker, and that'll help Joker and Batman in this fight. And what really throws us back is way back in issue number 1 of Scott Snyder's Batman run, when Batman and Joker were teaming up technically in Arkham against different villains, and it turned out to be Nightwing. At the time, I was like, oh, we've never seen this. This is really cool. But then when they faked it out, I was like, okay, I get that. But seeing this now, it's like Scott Snyder planned this all along. Like, I don't think he did. Like, that's really far off. But still, he's probably like, okay, I kind of faked it out way back when. Let's actually make it happen here. It's so creative, guys. To see Batman Joker versus a Batman who lasts, like, who would have ever thought DC would do that? And Scott Snyder, like, this makes Scott Snyder one of the best writers right here. When we see him, like, taking down the Batman Glass, beat him up, and Joker's just crazy. He's like going full on. Batman is doing good. He's fighting off. He has the martial arts skills, but Joker's unpredictability is like taking Batman Glass at every point. Like, Batman Glass can't keep up. And we see Batman Glass get his like fingers chopped off. He's getting beat up, and the monitor's like, what's going on here? Like, what am I watching? And we see Batman Glass tries to get away, and Joker goes after them. They're both laughing. And we shift back to all the heroes in 10th Mel fighting out the evil Batman. The Aquaman version of Batman that was evil, she gets stabbed and killed. The Devastator gets beat. So that's the reason I didn't cover all those tie-ins. Like, I'll cover the Batman Glass in like a separate video, and Red Death, because I really like Red Death. But the other like ones, like the Devastator, the Merciless, the Drowning, they pretty much get either killed or just forgotten here. And they're not really important. They're just like evil Batman to add to the story, so I didn't really feel like explaining their origin story, so they're not super important. But right here we see Barbados and Hawkman fighting. Barbados is gaining the upper hand, and he's about to take Hawkman down for good. And guys, if they do that, that'd be bad. That'd be really bad. And he's like, all roads lead to, and that's when Contra pretty much takes a 10th Metal Dagger, shoves it right through Barbados, and kills him. Like, well, not kills him, but takes him down, and he's done. He's pretty much like the last one. All the evil Batman are done, the Dark Forces, the Army's done, and he's the last man standing, and he's out. So the heroes are pretty much one in a way. Now we see Batman right away with the Monitor, taking him out of that cave. We see Joker and Batman Glass just beating the crap out of each other as like the cave is collapsing. And we see all the Justice League meet up, and the Monitor explains, okay, you might have defeated Barbados, but there's still, everybody's like consumed in darkness, and the dark multiverse is still taking over. We're all still collapsing in darkness. And Justice League pretty much combine, hold hands, and they make this big energy that reaches across the whole universe, guys. It reaches across different parts, strangers, heroes, all across the source wall. And you see these different images. You see like Superman, Batman, they're like consuming this energy. And you see it like hit the source wall, and you're like, what just happened? And the source wall just breaks. Guys, this is huge. So behind the source walls are a lot of different things. It actually goes on into the Justice League run with like the Titans, Perpetua. So this opens up a whole can of worms that have just been explored, and they're actually being explored further in like Dark Knight's death metal. But right here we see it end with like a hand just reaching out. Now we then shift to like an epilogue. All right. This is the epilogue. We see Alfred pretty much welcome the whole Justice League in. They have like the tuxedos, they're all talking, they're happy they won. So everything's good. And Bruce explains that everything went back to normal. With 10th Metal, they used reality to create like everything back to normal and erase the dark multiverse. Like, it's not totally gone, but it's out of the DC universe. And we see that the Monitor pretty much chained up Barbados at the bottom of the dark multiverse. He won't be getting out of there anytime soon. And we see all these heroes talking about what has happened. And Contra explains, she's like, so Hawkman, like, Carter Hall's back at Black Hawk Island, and before he went to bed, like, he's been sleeping now, and he hasn't slept in so many years. But he's sleeping now, but before he went to sleep, he wrote down all these different things, stuff he saw at the Warforged, and pretty much the new age of heroes. And what this really is like DC just like foreshadowing everything to happen. And by the way, all the stuff that they list here has happened in other books, which I'll explain as we go. And we see the new age of heroes like Sideways, the Immoral Men, pretty much the I think it's the Unstoppable or Unforgettable or whatever their name was. It was like a team that only lasted for a little bit. But the new age of heroes, they're cool at the time, but they're not really anything now. Honestly, the only one that really stuck around was the Silencer. Like, she was cool. That was a cool series. But everything else just kind of got forgotten, and it kind of sucks because this series hyped it up so good, and DC just let it go to the wayside. But guys, we also see like at the Dreaming, we see a book has gone missing. So like the whole library is good now, it's not burning anymore, but there's still a book missing, and Dream of the Endless will have to deal with this in the Sandman universe comics. So that's a big deal. And we see pretty much them narrate, okay, we restored the DC universe back to what it once was, but we also opened up all these new realities and these new stories. Like the Dark Stars are back for the Green Lanterns, and that was a big arc. That like ended the whole Hal Jordan the Green Lantern Corps. Then we also had like the Dark Pantheon, which is like a huge arc in Wonder Woman. We had like the Sink Atlantis arc with like Suicide Squad and Aquaman, like the Atlantis rose above sea level. We also see like Flash versus Wally West. That was a big Flash War thing, which is crazy because Flash War was way back in issue number like 47 that started, and we're now on issue number 91 or 752 of Flash. It's crazy how far we've been. And we see all this stuff, and we see like the tie-ins from the source wall. So it's a lot of big stuff that got people excited. Me, myself, way back when I read this, I was like, this is gonna be dope. And most of these storylines were really good. Like some of them, not so much, like they're decent. But a lot of them were really great. And then what we see is all these heroes are talking, like we'll deal with it, we'll come for a Justice League again, we'll keep fighting, protect Earth, protect the multiverse, and they pretty much do like a cheers. They're at the round table, it's pretty cool, and Batman then has them have a party, which I don't really care about this part. Like, I get there has to be positivity, but come on. All these heroes just having a party and stuff, it just doesn't really work. But still, they're all happy, and Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman go to another room. And by the way, guys, they're in like the tuxedos, and they walk into another room. Wonder Woman's like, okay, since the source wall is broken, how are we gonna deal with this? And Batman's like, I have a plan. And we see pretty much plans of the Hall of Justice. So that means the original place that the Justice League would meet up and talk plans, how to beat the villains, is back. They're gonna build the Hall of Justice, and it actually happened in Scott Snyder's Justice League run. And it's really cool. It's one of the best things that has happened in recent years. Like, guys, I love the Watchtower, and I love different things that the Justice League meet up at. But the Hall of Justice will always be like the best area that they met. Like, it's just like the OG place. It's so cool. But guys, that's where it ends. And it says the adventures of the Justice League continue in Justice League No Justice. And that's when like they team up, fight against the Titans. Then we have Perpetua. It's a lot of different stuff that they deal with that is beyond the source wall. So this whole storyline opened up a whole new possibility of storylines that like Scott Snyder can deal with. And he made it really crazy. And now, as we like 3 years later, we're going to Dark Knight's Death Knell, and it's crazy. I can't believe we're here. Like, it's so cool. But yeah, guys, that's the explained part of this issue down. Let's get to my review of Dark Knight's Metal, number 6. So guys, this issue, like this final issue is so crazy. It's one of the best ones. It's really good. There's only one part at the end where they're like partying and stuff, and that was kind of weird. Like, I just felt I get that positivity. Like, it wasn't weird, but it just wasn't as awesome or crazy that we've been reading. It was like, okay, they're having a party, whatever. Like, I don't care about reading that. But still, it was cool to Hall of Justice at the end. Like, this whole storyline sets up a lot of cool stuff to come. But in the issue itself, we had Joker and Batman versus the Batman Last, which is one of the best things in DC history, I think. Like, it's really awesome. And then we see, like, Hawkman versus Barbados. A lot of action, guys. Contra, Wonder Woman teaming up. We see him use 10th Metal to fight off all these forces. Really dope. We see Plastic Man. He has an awesome scene. No awesome scene for Martian Manhunter, which is kind of disappointing, but then he gets a big role in No Justice League Justice League series, so that doesn't matter. But still, the art by Greg Capullo and the colors by SCO Center really sells it. Like, Scott Snyder can do a great story all he wants, but if he doesn't have good art, it won't be readable. Like, all this crazy stuff is made awesome by Greg Capullo. Like, how he draws Plastic Man, how he draws Barbados, Hawkman, Joker, Batman, Batman Last, all his the Monitor, all how he like conveys it and uses like the flow of the story to his advantage. It's just so cool. And it's an awesome series, guys. So good. And I'm overall gonna give this final issue a 9 out of 10. Like, you guys knew it. Like, I honestly thought like the best issue of this series was issue number 4, where we saw Dream of the Endless, Hawkman was revealed as like the World Forger, because everything was coming together and it's just so fascinating. But all the other issues were just so good too. Like, they're in the 9 out of 10, or at least an 8.5. It's one of my favorite DC events of all time. It's just really awesome, guys. But yeah, guys, I thank you for watching this whole thing, this whole series where I explained Dark Knight's Metal. I'm happy you watched, because now you're caught up for Dark Knight's Death Metal, which is really cool. Because now you can go into Dark Knight's Death Metal, notice the different references Scott Snyder will be putting, like I'm pretty sure he will, and see all the connections to it. And then you know a little about Batman Who Laughs. Like, I'll make a video explaining Batman Who Laughs so you know a little more about him. And then we'll see Perpetua. And guys, Wonder Woman, like Scott Snyder said, will be the big like character in Dark Knight's Death Metal. Like, Heroes, Batman, and Hawkman. But he did Wonder Woman so well in this series, like issue number 5 and 6, where she never stopped, that I'm excited to see what he does in Dark Knight's Death Metal. Like, it'll be cool to see what he does with her and all the other characters. But it's, you know what, Scott Snyder, I don't care what anybody else says, he's the best writer. Best writer, DC, Marvel, best writer in all comics, I think. And Greg Capullo is one of the best artists. Like, they just do it so well. Like, they haven't failed yet, I don't think. Like, they did the Black Mirror storyline, which is really like the breakout storyline at DC, which is really awesome. The Batman New 52 series, and then this, and then the Justice League series, No Justice, now Dark Knight's Death Metal. Like, they haven't failed yet, and I don't think they will. Like, they just do awesome stuff, and they like contribute to the fans, and they listen. Like, Scott Snyder listens to the fans, and pretty much puts the fans' work into his story, but makes it even more crazy. It cranks it up to like a 10. But yeah, guys, this overall series was awesome. Definitely recommend. I'm not gonna really give it a score. Like, you know what? It's a 9 out of 10. There you go. It's a 9 out of 10. Like, I think it's an amazing storyline. Definitely recommend it. Check it out. Like, if you don't read this story, you're missing out on awesome Batman stuff, awesome like just crazy dark multiverse stuff, and just a cool experience in general. But yeah, guys, if you like this video, give a big thumbs up, and if you haven't yet, bro, subscribe to the channel. So it's great DC Comics content every day that you don't want to miss. And yeah, guys, that's the video. Peace out.